of immense priority. In the coming years, we are eager to work closely in areas such as technology, green energy, security, innovation and technology. We also want to add strength to trade as well as cultural linkages.
The last elections of 2024, it's the battle for India's economic heart. An election that will decide Maharashtra's future.
Can the big brother BJP manage the competing ambitions of Mahayuti? Can the Red Book rally the voters once again for Congress and its allies? So as Maharashtra's future trajectory takes shape, we report from the ground.
Two visions, two ideology, one verdict.
An election where no caste chemistry can yield a perfect formula.
It's a state that is splintered with power battles. The big question, will Maharashtra poll outcome unify parties or divide them further? And who will emerge as Maharashtra's undisputed leader?
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president.
Donald triumphs. What does Trump's win mean for America, for the world, for the wars, and for India-US relations? Non-stop coverage on NDTV. Top analysts and voices from the ground. Extensive coverage on NDTV.
We reached an agreement on patrolling. We have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. The understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the patrolling which we were doing in 2020.
This week on India Ascends.
All eyes on upcoming Rio G20. India poised to mend emerging economies, G7 divisions. Trump 2.0. Is it time up Trudeau? Ottawa stares at fresh turmoil. Chinese security personnel in Pakistan. Is it Beijing's bid to colonize Islamabad? And in Bangladesh, why does Attorney General want secular removed from the constitution?
All this and more only on India Sense with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
NDTV proudly presents NDTV World Summit 2024, the India Century. I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inaugural session at the NDTV Summit outlined his vision for the India Century, driven by Aspirational India.
हमारा प्रयास होगा भारत की सेंचुरी सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि
And on the sidelines of the G20 summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held his key bilaterals. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met outgoing US President Joe Biden at G20 summit. He also met UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron, discussed over artificial intelligence, cooperation in trade and energy sector. He said always a delight when he met Joe Biden at the G20 summit. The pictures tell 1,000 words. This is the bonhomie that Prime Minister shares with everybody that he meets at the global stage. That's Joe Biden and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, Joe Biden and Xi Jinping also attended Rio summit and held a meeting. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Prime Minister said we must prioritize Global South. This was the key speech that he delivered at the G20. Said Global South adversely impacted by food, fuel and fertilizer crisis. A big message coming as India emerges as the voice of Global South. And viewers, it is the 1000th day of Russia-Ukraine war. What's happening? Well, oil rates are jumping over 3% as Russia escalates its attack on Ukraine and Ukraine retaliates. Well, the fears of disruption in supply chain are emerging. Oil prices spike as Russia-Ukraine tensions mount. Experts believe that this will again have impact on the oil supply that is going on around the world. Now my colleague Sakshi Bajaj is joining me. Sakshi, what are its implications and will we see fears of oil supply disruption resurfacing?
Well, that's right. Like you rightly mentioned, of course, the 1000th day of the Russia-Ukraine war. Very, very significant here to remember just how volatile oil prices have been through these 1000 days. And today, of course, we have seen oil prices jump by over 3% in overnight trade as the Russia-Ukraine war once again escalates. So significant there. Of course, experts saying that this does, of course, reignite those fears of supply disruptions coming in again and intensifying further. So that really is one of the key factors. The other factor really that led to an extension of these oil prices that were already gaining is, remember, the power outage faced by Norway's oil field, key oil field there. Johan Sverdrup was also facing this key outage, and there was a production that was halted there due to the power outage, and so therefore these prices were surging. Now, crucial for our viewers to understand that Russia is a significant oil exporter. Norway's oil production unit also that has faced this power outage is a key oil exporter, and all of these concerns really coming in together on the 1000th day of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Absolutely. Sakshi, thank you so much for joining us and sharing those details. With that, we're slipping into a very short break, but don't go anywhere. My colleague Parmesh Bawa joins you with what's happening around the world.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
तालियों के साथ हम स्वागत करेंगे आदरणीय मोदी जी का।
छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज की।
घोषणा आणि जनतेचे पैसे लुटणं.
कट कमिशन आणि करप्शनला आमच्याकडे थारा नाही. त्यांचा परिवार हात आमचा महाराष्ट्र
महाराष्ट्रामध्ये 1,75,000 जागा रिक्त आहेत. मग का भरत नाही? राज्याची जनतेच्या घमाच्या पैशाची तिजोरी लुटण्यासाठी हे सरकार आहे.
पूर्वीच्या सरकारच्या काळामध्ये निधी देताना त्यांना असं वाटायचं की त्यांच्याच खिशातले पैसे चालले. शेतकऱ्यांना मोफत वीज देण्याचं काम आपल्या सरकारने सुरू केलं.
It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages. Cyber frauds have cast their net wide and everyone is at risk. We track the victims, their horror stories as they get conned online, extorted and robbed of their hard-earned money. How to identify a cyber fraud and how to stay cyber safe. What are your options? Fraud.con, NDTV initiative for cyber safety. Only on NDTV 24/7. In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World. As he
You are watching The World 24/7 on the NDTV network. I'm Parmeshwar Bava. Let's begin with the headlines we're tracking this morning. The Kremlin issued a stark warning to the United States, accusing it of throwing oil on the fire by permitting Ukraine to use long-range American missiles to target Russian territory. The Biden administration's move adds an uncertain new factor 1,000 days into the war. A massive China-Russia natural gas pipeline was completed, Chinese state media reported, suggesting that Russian gas could begin powering Shanghai by the end of the year. US President-elect Donald Trump has indicated he would deploy the military to carry out mass deportations, the backbone of his policy promises. Trump's plan will face legal challenges, but this time he has friendlier arbiters, some analysts argue. Nearly 100 aid trucks were violently looted in Gaza over the weekend, the United Nations has reported, underscoring the challenges of delivering desperately needed food and supplies to the war-torn strip. The convoy was forced to take an alternate route after the Israeli military instructed it to leave a day earlier than planned, according to a UN. Prime Minister Modi held a meeting with United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Brazil. Joe Biden headed for a photo with fellow G20 leaders in Rio at his final summit as US President, only to find that they had already taken the picture without him. Frustrated US officials blamed logistical issues for this blunder, which meant that Biden missed out on this shot.
Well, the Kremlin has accused Joe Biden's outgoing U.S. administration of wanting to escalate the war in Ukraine by allowing Kyiv to actually use long-range missiles for strikes inside Russia, vowing an appropriate and palpable response. In fact, the decision, first reported on Sunday to allow Ukraine to conduct strikes with US-made weapons deep into sovereign Russian territory, has not been formally announced by the White House, but a German government spokesperson said on Monday that Berlin had been informed. Putin had said Moscow would take the appropriate decisions based on the threats that we will face, and previously also suggested that Moscow could supply long-range weapons to other countries with the aim of attacking Western targets. And in news from Ukraine, a Russian missile strike on the port city of Odessa has killed at least 10 people and injured 44 others, including 4 children. Local authorities say 3 of the injured are in serious condition, but the attack targeted a residential area, damaging an apartment building, a university and an administrative building. Mr. Zelensky has condemned the strike, saying it was a deliberate attack aimed at showing Russia's true intentions. In fact, the Ukrainian president has accused Russia of spreading false claims about halting attacks, emphasizing that their real goal is war.
This attack was carried out with a missile. The video that has emerged after the attack shows devastation and vehicles on fire. According to the local governor, 10 people have died in this attack and more than 40 people have been injured, out of which 3 are in critical condition. 4 children are also among the injured. After this attack, Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that Russia is deliberately targeting residential areas. In this attack, a multi-story building as well as an university building and an administrative building have also suffered heavy damage. Zelensky has also said that the only way to stop such attacks by Russia is to destroy Russia's power to attack. For this, he has appealed to his ally countries to come together. Odessa is the 3rd most populous city of Ukraine. Ukraine has an important port here, and there is a large-scale import and export happening from here, which has been disrupted due to Russian attacks. A part of the port here has also been destroyed. Since the beginning of the war, Russia has been trying to capture this city. Russia is continuously attacking this city from the Black Sea side. After the attacks on Saturday and Sunday, there is a huge shortage of water and electricity in Odessa. People are mostly forced to live in bunkers. It is believed that Ukraine is preparing to give a big befitting reply to Russia's attacks, especially when it has got permission from America that it can use long-range missile against Russia. Due to this, there is a fear of the war escalating in near future, and this is being also said that Ukraine is going to reply in a big manner soon.
Meanwhile, oil prices climbed more than $2 a barrel on Monday after news that crude production at Norway's Johan Sverdrup oil field had been halted, which added to earlier gains stemming from the escalation of the Russia-Ukraine war. In fact, Norway's Equinor has halted production at the Johan Sverdrup oil field, which is the largest in Western Europe, following an onshore power outage, which is what the company had announced. So the news has sent oil prices higher, adding to earlier gains sparked by rising tensions in the Russia-Ukraine war. Meanwhile, a massive China-Russia natural gas pipeline was completed, Chinese state media has reported, suggesting that Russian gas could begin powering Shanghai by the end of the year. Moscow is now largely reliant on the Chinese market for its gas exports after Europe blocked imports over the Ukraine invasion, but efforts to build a separate pipeline stalled earlier this year over price disagreements. China is already getting discounted Russian natural gas and supplies through the completed pipeline. It will continue at a significant discount, according to an expert, but the war in Ukraine has deepened Moscow's economic dependence on Beijing, and Russia is showing signs of becoming a subordinate economic partner to China rather than an equal, as per many political watchers. Let's turn our attention to the other big story we're tracking. Well, prosecutors have said Two men put financial profit over human life when they attempted to smuggle a couple from India and their two young children across the United States-Canada border in heavy snow and bone-chilling winds, leading to the family freezing to death. Prosecutors allege Indian national Harsh Kumar Raman Lal Patel, who's a 29-year-old, ran part of a sprawling human smuggling scheme and recruited Steve Shand, who's a 50-year-old, to shuttle migrants across the border. Both men have pleaded not guilty to 4 federal counts related to human smuggling, but their trial in Minnesota is expected to last about 5 days. Michael Goldberg has more for us.
The trial began Monday with defense attorneys arguing that 7 photographs depicting the family's frozen bodies should be excluded as evidence. Defense attorneys argued that the gut-wrenching images would sway the jury unfairly. Prosecutors argued that the images were necessary to convey that the family was inadequately prepared by Patel and Shand to face the frigid conditions in Minnesota. A federal judge ultimately allowed the evidence to remain admitted.
Let's get you a quick update from Gaza now, where nearly 100 aid trucks were violently looted over the weekend, the United Nations has said, underscoring the challenges of delivering desperately needed food and supplies to the war-torn strip. The convoy was forced to take an alternate route after the Israeli military instructed it leave a day earlier than planned. This is what a UN agency has said. In fact, the main agency that actually supplies aid for Palestinians that Israel banned last month. Israel has been letting in significantly less food and supplies into Gaza in recent weeks compared with previous months, the UN has confirmed. But the deteriorating conditions has prompted Pope Francis to call for an investigation into allegations of a genocide in Gaza, which is actually Pope Francis's strongest criticism yet of Israel's war with Hamas. And 76 Palestinians have been killed because of Israeli military strikes across Gaza in the past 24 hours. The health ministry has said. Some survivors have said that victims were ripped apart into fragments. This as hospitals are under siege and malnutrition cases are rising. Meanwhile, lawyers for a Palestinian rights group have told a London court that the UK is allowing parts for F-35 fighter jets to be exported to Israel, despite saying they could be used in breach of international humanitarian law in Gaza. And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has confirmed that last month's airstrike on Iran targeted a specific component of Tehran's nuclear program, as well as its defense and missile production capabilities. In fact, speaking in Israel's parliament, Netanyahu did not elaborate on which part of the nuclear program was actually struck. The Israel Prime Minister did confirm while briefing the parliament that in fact nuclear capabilities of Iran had been impacted. This as the latest string of developments have occurred with Israeli military airstrikes striking over 70 people in the Gaza Strip. And supplies are concerned to the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Mohammad Ghazali has been tracking each detail for us very closely. He joins us live at the moment. Ghazali, take us through the latest string of developments.
So this is the first time that the Israeli Prime Minister has, or the Israeli government on record has confirmed that how they have hit the Iran's nuclear program in the last month's attack, when Israel retaliated to Iran's attack into Israel's territory. Now, this is very significant considering the fact that there has been, there will be a new president in office, the President-elect Mr. Trump in the United States, and we know that how there is a growing bonhomie, or there is a very good relations between Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Trump, and that is something which is very concerning for the Middle East, considering the fact that how Mr. Netanyahu is coming out and have hit multiple targets in Tehran. And meanwhile, there are reports which are coming out in the Israeli media that how Mr. Netanyahu told a group of ministers that how he was threatened by the Mr. Biden and the Secretary of State Antony Blinken for not going into Rafah, and yet he went there despite all the threats of sanctions and threats from the previous U.S. administration or the current U.S. administration. And this is considering the fact that how Mr. Donald Trump had said that he will stop all the wars in the Middle East, and yet Israel has continued its strike into Lebanon and into Gaza.
Yes.
It appears now that Mr. Netanyahu has been more emboldened, and these attacks will still continue till Mr. Trump gets into the office.
As always, Ghazali, thanks so much for taking us through the latest developments. With that, let's get you a latest update from the G20 summit. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has opened the G20 summit in Brazil by unveiling a global alliance aimed at tackling poverty and hunger. The initiative was signed by 81 countries, including 18 of the 19 G20 countries, as well as the European Union and the African Union. But the only G20 country not to sign on was Argentina, which is currently led by far-right President Javier Milei. Let's get you the latest from Rio. Celia Mendoza has the latest update.
The first session of the two-day G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, concluded with the official launch of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, an initiative led by Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. The alliance, which includes Argentina, has 148 founding members comprising 82 countries, the African Union, the European Union, 24 international organizations, 9 international financial institutions, and 31 philanthropic and non-governmental organizations. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised the initiative, saying it is a commendable effort by the Brazilian G20 presidency. During his speech here at the fight against hunger and poverty, he said that it is important the work India is doing, the efforts to alleviate poverty, aiming to lift 250 million people out of that situation. He also mentioned that his country provides free food to 800 million people, contributing to the fight against hunger. Other topics discussed on Monday included the need for global government institutions reform. The Prime Minister had a friendly encounter today with President Joe Biden and a bilateral meeting with the leader of Indonesia, another one with Portugal and Italy. The G20 leaders are expected to reconvene on Tuesday to discuss sustainable development, energy transition, and potentially get a declaration from the group. The United States has pushed to get the war against Ukraine within the document. The closing ceremony will formalize Brazil's handover of the G20 presidency to South Africa. Celia Mendoza, Voice of America, reporting from Rio for NDTV.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi held a bilateral meeting with United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer on the sidelines of that G20 summit in Brazil. He had a discussion with the heads of state from Brazil, Singapore and Spain, underlining India's commitment to boost international collaboration. Our Prime Minister also met with the French President, and we're told they discussed artificial intelligence as well as advances in the space sector. As always, news and updates continue in a moment right after this very short break. Don't go anywhere.
Download any single ID partner app, link your card and earn reward with top brand.
Get it free with single ID.
The last elections of 2024. It's the battle for India's economic heart. An election that will decide Maharashtra's future.
Can the big brother BJP manage the competing ambitions of Mahayuti? Can the Red Book rally the voters once again for Congress and its allies?
So as Maharashtra's future trajectory takes shape, we report from the ground.
Two visions, two ideology, one verdict. An election where no caste chemistry can yield a perfect formula.
It's a state that is splintered with power battles. The big question, will Maharashtra poll outcome unify parties or divide them further? And who will emerge as Maharashtra's undisputed leader?
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president.
Donald triumphs. What does Trump's win mean for America, for the world, for the wars, and for India-US relations? Non-stop coverage on NDTV. Top analysts and voices from the ground. Extensive coverage.
Well, US President-elect Donald J. Trump indicated he plans to declare a national emergency and use the US military to assist with his proposed mass deportations of undocumented immigrants. Trump's confirmation came via a repost on his social media platform Truth Social in response to a post by Tom Fitton, the head of the conservative group Judicial Watch. Fitton had suggested earlier this month that the Trump administration would declare a national emergency and deploy military assets to tackle illegal immigration through a mass deportation program. Trump responded early this morning by reposting Fitton's comment with a simple affirmation in classic Trump style, saying the word true with 3 exclamation points. Natasha Israni has been tracking the details for us. She joins us live from New York at the moment. Natasha, what should we make of Trump's confirmation regarding the use of military assets to support this mass deportation pledge?
Well, I think one thing that we have to start on being very clear with is that it's a confirmation of intent. They're prepared to use. What he's saying is they're prepared to use military assets, but this is not policy yet. It cannot be policy till he actually is sworn in inauguration in January. So what really happens on the ground still remains to be seen. But what we can expect is sweeping executive measures that whatever is under Donald Trump's control to take part, to do this mass deportation, he is going to go ahead with that. But there are questions because while this remains his top campaign pledge, how it actually works out on paper, he's likely to face both legal challenges as well as questions from humanitarian rights who are going to object to these mass deportations and how they take place. And the other question is also financially of the money that's involved in such an exercise, expected to be to the tune of billions of dollars. So while this is a clear indication from his end that he will use all resources under his power, this is not policy yet, and there's still unanswered questions how the National Guard can actually be deployed.
As always, Natasha, thank you so much for joining us with the latest update. As my colleague Natasha is reporting, it's a confirmation of intent, but it is not policy yet. But come January, we will have more clarity. Thanks so much for joining us with a live update from New York. Meanwhile, the Competition Commission of India has imposed a penalty of 213 crore rupees on social media major Meta for unfair business ways with respect to WhatsApp privacy policy updates that were done in 2021. Besides, the competition watchdog has also directed Meta to cease and desist from anti-competitive practices. In other news, a proposed law that would redefine New Zealand's founding treaty between the British Crown and the Maori chiefs has triggered political turmoil and a march by thousands of people the length of the country to Parliament to protest. The bill is never expected to become law, but it has become a flashpoint on race relations and a critical moment in the fraught 180-year-old conversation about how New Zealand should honour its promises to Indigenous people when the country was colonised and what those promises actually are. Switching tracks, the recent establishment of a historic sea link between Dhaka and Islamabad, it marks a significant step in enhancing bilateral relations between Bangladesh and Pakistan, the first such connection since the independence of Bangladesh in 1971. This development is poised to have substantial implications for regional dynamics, particularly concerning India. And now turning our attention to the underpinnings for a new, more inclusive accord for our oceans. Here's a glimpse into the Great Oceans Dialogue, which aims to serve as a platform for critical conversations around the blue economy, maritime logistics, critical minerals, and diversified supply chains.
जैसे आप लोगों को मालूम है कि हमारे परम आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी और ग्रीस के प्रधानमंत्री दोनों के बीच में जो भी चर्चा हुई, जो भी एजेंडा सेट हुई, उसी एजेंडा को हम आगे बढ़ाने के लिए फिर से हम लोगों ने चर्चा में आज दोनों की तरफ से हमारी बातों को रखा गया है। और जैसे आप लोगों को मालूम है, शिपिंग सेक्टर में, शिप ओनरशिप में दे आर द लीडर्स इन द वर्ल्ड, ग्रीस। सो इस सिलसिले में हम चाहते हैं कि उनकी भी कंपनी इंडिया में ऑपरेट करे और इंडिया शिप बिल्डिंग के सिलसिले में प्रमुख भूमिका ले। और हमारे इस विषय पर IMEC कॉरिडोर पर भी चर्चा हुई।
After the excellent meetings between our ministers, my Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis and also Prime Minister Mr. Monti, we found some practical initiatives and we decided to be together in this very turbulent geopolitical situation in the world, but at the same time to see how we can cooperate in the shipping sector, in the maritime affairs, and in other many fields which is in our common interest. So I'm very glad because I had this excellent meeting with the minister.
इसकी खासियत ये है कि ये एक बार पोर्ट बनने के बाद आज का JNPA पोर्ट हो, मुंद्रा पोर्ट हो और ये पोर्ट मिलके अगले 25 से 30 साल में वेस्टर्न पश्चिमी क्षेत्र में हमें नए पोर्ट की जरूरत महसूस नहीं होने देंगे। तो विकसित भारत के सपने तक ये पोर्ट हमें ले जाएगा। पहली बात तो सबसे पहली चुनौती ये थी कि इसका इन्वायरमेंटल क्लियरेंस मिल जाए, तो वो चुनौती हमने पार कर ली है। इसीलिए उसके बाद ही माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने 30 अगस्त को इसका शिलान्यास किया। अब आगे की चुनौती है कि इसको समय पे पूरा किया जाए। जो हमारा जो शेड्यूल है, हम उस शेड्यूल से पहले चल रहे हैं। तो हमारे शेड्यूल के मुताबिक इसको 29-30 में पहला जहाज आना है। अगर सब चीजें ठीक रही तो शायद हम एक साल पहले ही पहला जहाज लाएंगे।
Thank you for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. As always, we'll keep tracking the latest for you. Do stay tuned.
We reached an agreement on petroling. We have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. The understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the patrolling which we were doing in 2020.
This week on India Ascends.
All eyes on upcoming Rio G20. India poised to mend emerging economies, G7 divisions. Trump 2.0. Is it time up, Trudeau? Ottawa stares at fresh turmoil. Chinese security personnel in Pakistan. Is it Beijing's bid to colonize Islamabad? And in Bangladesh, why does Attorney General want secular removed from the constitution?
All this and more only on India Ascends with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
NDTV proudly presents NDTV World Summit 2024, the India Century. I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inaugural session at the NDTV Summit outlined his vision for the India Century, driven by aspirational India.
हमारा प्रयास होगा भारत की सेंचुरी सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता की जीत की सेंचुरी बने.
The summit brought together prominent global leaders, highlighting India's pivotal role on the world stage.
Not just Indians trusting India's leadership, but the global South especially trusting India's leadership.
Permanent seat on the UN Security Council is something that should be India's right.
Canada is concerned, I think there are some very specific issues. I think a lot of people know that.
AI is going to be one of the most important, drivers.
It's a very exciting time for India, Indian cinema as well at a global level.
NDTV World Summit was more than just a conversation. It was a confluence of ideas poised to shape our global future.
घोषणा आणि जनतेचे पैसे लुटणं.
कट कमिशन आणि करप्शनला आमच्याकडे थारा नाही. त्यांचा परिवारवाद आमचा.
A very good morning. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Divya Wadhwa. We have a whole lot lined up for you, including the measures that have now kicked in. We're talking about all classes that have switched to the online model, including Class 10 and Class 12. Well, that is because of the GRAP 4 measures that are now in place. But what is Delhi getting so wrong? Why can't Delhi clean up its act? We're going to get to all the details. But first, the headlines. Delhi chokes in severely toxic category. We're talking about the AQI that's nearing the 500 mark. Delhi and the NCR region covered yet another day of this cloak of smog, with schools now switching to the online mode of classes, including Class 10 and Class 12. So classes are now online, and also this is due to the smog siege with all schools. This doesn't mean only Delhi, but also the adjoining areas of Gurugram as well as Faridabad that are included in online classes, as well as the Delhi University taking measures in order to curb the problem. They have also gone on to online classes till Saturday. And in the run-up to the elections in Maharashtra, cash seizure ahead of a polling day, just 24 hours to go, and cash almost close to 2 crore rupees has been seized from a hotel in Nashik. And the Chief Minister there chairing a meeting of NDA MLAs in Manipur, a key resolution on the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. It's the Assam that is sealing its borders with Manipur. India's antitrust watchdog slaps a fine to Meta. We're talking about the Competition Commission of India slapping a penalty of over 200 crore rupees on social media giant Meta over its WhatsApp privacy policy update that took place in 2021.
And India's successful launch, we're talking about Elon Musk's SpaceX that has launched ISRO satellite. This is the first for India. That satellite that's been launched will enhance communication. This is the most enhanced communication satellite that will help in enhancing broadband services and also in-flight internet across India. And the United States is urging Bangladesh to end violent crackdowns while saying that they are not supportive as far as the government's engagement is concerned in violent crackdown on peaceful protests. And India's key bilaterals on the sidelines of the G20 summit. The Prime Minister has met with his UK counterpart as well as he's met with the French President. The discussions have ranged on various topics including AI and space. And it's the 1,000th day of the war between Russia and Ukraine. And as the war escalates, we're seeing an impact that is directly felt as far as oil prices are concerned. Now, oil rates have jumped over 3% as the war escalates. Let's get you our top story, and our focus remains on the pollution problem. And visibility levels again this morning have been hampered due to that smog cover that we're seeing. Air quality, whether it's in the national capital or areas around including Noida, Ghaziabad and Gurugram, have reached very toxic and alarmingly high levels, with most AQI stations crossing the 500 mark this morning. We're talking about that dense layer of smog that is visible on your screens at the moment, making visibility very, very poor for the 7th consecutive day. While the Union Health Secretary has issued an updated advisory as far as schools are concerned. Now, Delhi University has also decided to shift to online classes till Saturday, the 23rd of November. We are talking about universities making that announcement amid worsening air quality levels in the national capital. So we have my colleague Ishika joining us as well as Shreya joining us. Ishika, over to you first. So now that we know that online classes is going to be the norm as far as schools are concerned, including class 10 and class 12, they were, remember, exempted from that measure that had come into place yesterday. But of course, better sense has prevailed in regard to the health of the children here in the country. What other steps is the government taking in order to ensure that the citizens feel slightly safer in these very toxic times?
Well, Divya, as you rightly mentioned now, in fact, the schools here in the national capital and in the NCR region have switched to online mode. And this better sense has only come after Supreme Court, in fact, intervened into this matter and has directed this. Now, apart from that, Divya, let me tell you that Grade Response Action Plan Stage 4 is already imposed in the national capital. In fact, it was imposed yesterday and it continues to be so. And we did see that the direction that came from the Supreme Court was that the government cannot, in fact, revoke the Grade Response Action Plan Stage 4 without informing the court. Now, let me tell you that if we talk about the air quality index, it only continues to worsen. Divya, yesterday morning we were reporting that the AQI level is at 483. If I show you today, my camera person Sushil Rathi is trying to show you the data that we are getting from the CPCB app. You can see that today morning it has gone to 492. In fact, there are different stations here that is mentioned on the Safar app, in fact, Sameer app, where the air quality index has crossed the 500 mark. Now, let me show you, Divya, that the visuals that you'll be getting from the national capital with, the areas, in fact, engulfed in smog, but even in public parks, certainly, the people themselves are becoming more and more aware. You can look at the visuals that we are getting from a park here, where everyone here present is wearing a mask. I'll try to go across, to them and in fact ask them as to how, they are feeling about the entire situation. सर, अगर हम अभी बात करें तो अभी जो एयर क्वालिटी इंडेक्स है वो 500 के पास चला गया है. क्या आपको भी अब जब बाहर निकलते हैं तो आपको भी परेशानी फेस होती है?
हमको परेशानी फेस होती है. हम लोग कभी जब भी मना भी करते थे कि हम लोग बाहर नहीं जाएंगे, मेरे बच्चों ने मना किया कि पापा आप लोग बाहर मत जाइए, क्योंकि आप बुजुर्ग हैं, आपको सांस की प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है। मैंने कहा है नहीं, मुझे हो रही है, मुझे जो है सांस की प्रॉब्लम है, हर तरह की प्रॉब्लम शुरू हो रही है। अभी पता नहीं अब जो है एयर क्वालिटी कब बेटर होगी, हमें तो बहुत दिक्कत होती है। हम भगवान से प्रार्थना कर सकते हैं कि भगवान कुछ करे, क्योंकि भाई सरकार तो कुछ करेगी नहीं, कभी भी नहीं करेगी।
वही अगर हम देखें तो जो AQI जो इतना ख़राब हुआ है, उसके बाद जो है स्कूल जो है वो ऑनलाइन मोड में चले गए हैं। बात हो रही है कि शायद ऑड इवन भी वापस आए। तो क्या आपको लगता है कि ये जो मेजर्स अब सरकार ला रही है, कहीं ना कहीं बच्चों के एजुकेशन पर भी इम्पैक्ट पड़ रहा है, इससे आप क्या कहेंगे सरकार?
देखिए मैडम, ये हर साल होता है, लेकिन सरकार पता नहीं कब जागेगी। कई सालों से ये प्रॉब्लम चल रही है, कभी ऑड इवन कभी करते हैं, लेकिन इनके पास कोई साधन ही नहीं है। इतनी बड़ी दिल्ली सरकार है, 7 MP हैं, सब सो रहे हैं, इन्हें कोई परवाह नहीं है इस चीज़ की कि हम क्या कुछ करें। लेकिन मैं बड़ा हैरान हूँ कि दिल्ली इज़ द कैपिटल ऑफ इंडिया, उसके अंदर ये इतना बुरा हाल है। देखिए सीनियर सिटीजन है, पार्क पे बैठे हैं, बिना मास्क के बैठ नहीं सकते हैं, बीमारियाँ फैल रही हैं। तो ये सारी चीज़ें जो हैं, इनको पहले से कुछ करना चाहिए। कोई पानी का छिड़काव नहीं है कि कुछ नहीं है। अभी हम RW की तरफ से एक मशीन लाए हैं, जिसकी तरफ से हम पैरों पर कर रहे हैं, तो टेम्परेचर को डाउन करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। लेकिन ये मैडम कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं है। मुझे नहीं लगता कि आने वाले टाइम पे भी कोई हमारा साथ देगा।
वही हम देखें, जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट है उन्होंने भी कल फटकार लगाई है, चाहे वो दिल्ली सरकार हो, चाहे वो CAQM हो। अगर आप यहाँ पे जो रेसिडेंट है, क्या आप फील कर पा रहे हैं कि जो उन्होंने मेजर्स बोले थे दिल्ली सरकार में, क्या आपको दिखा वो नीचे काम करता हुआ ग्राउंड रियलिटी पे?
अभी एक्चुअली सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने तो 2 दिन पहले ही बोला है, तो अभी वो उसके बारे में कुछ कहना मुश्किल है। लेकिन जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला है वो दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट को बहुत पहले इम्प्लीमेंट करना चाहिए था, क्योंकि ये वन टाइम फिनोमेना नहीं है, ये हर साल होता है और हर साल ये दिक्कत होती है। तो इसके लिए प्रोएक्टिव मेजर्स पहले से लेना चाहिए था गवर्नमेंट को।
प्रोएक्टिव मेजर्स पहले से लेना चाहिए था। वही हम देखें तो अभी जो राज्य सरकार है वो केंद्र सरकार को ब्लेम कर रही है कि आप जॉइंट एक्शन प्लान लेके नहीं आ रहे। बीजेपी जो है वो वापस आम आदमी पार्टी दिल्ली सरकार को ब्लेम कर रही है। तो इस ब्लेम गेम में जो नॉर्मल रेसिडेंट्स है जैसे आप, वो कहाँ अपने आप को खड़ा पाते हैं और क्या कहेंगे?
डेफिनेटली सेंटर और स्टेट की लड़ाई में पब्लिक पिसती है बगैर बात में। दिल्ली में जो मेन पोल्यूशन है, मोर देन 50% व्हीकल्स एमिशन से है। व्हीकल्स का जो भी फ्यूल निकलता है, फ्यूल जलता है, उससे है, या अड़ोस पड़ोस के राज्यों में जो भी पराली जलती है, स्टबर्न बर्न होते हैं, उससे हो रही है। इसके बाद में सरकार को कुछ सीरियसली सोचना पड़ेगा। सरकार मतलब सोचती तो है लेकिन करती नहीं है।
So in fact, as you heard, these were the voices that we were getting from the ground, from the residents. They say, that they continue to suffer between the political bickering that continues to go on between the political parties here. Over to you.
Right. Of course, let's just also go across and, get a count of how bad it is this morning in terms of the pollution levels. Ishika, over to you. Take us through how bad is the data coming out today. And in terms of the farm fires, as far as Punjab is concerned, just yesterday over 1,200 fires have been reported. So, adding to the pollution problem as far as Delhi is concerned. So this is completely, adding fuel to the fire. What kind of measures are being implemented on the ground in order to ensure that they, these measures that they talk about are also, going through, and that, people are not violating the measures in place?
Well, if we talk about that, Divya, yesterday we did see that Graded Response Action Plan Stage 4 was imposed, after which a very important meeting of the Environment Minister in Delhi government, Gopal Rai, was called. And in fact, we did see that after that, strict directions were given to every department to in fact ensure that it is implemented on the ground. Let me tell you what those, instructions are. Number one, that there will be, in fact, there are increased checkings regarding, the traffic, the truck traffic that comes into the national capital. There are restrictions even on the light commercial vehicles, the heavy commercial vehicles that are entering the national capital and that are, registered outside of the national capital. If we talk about the construction and the demolition activities, well, there is a complete ban on construction and demolition activities that also include, that are national projects, public projects. So at this point point of time, no construction and demolition activities can take place here in the Delhi NCR region. So these are in fact few of the very important measures that are there in the Great Response Action Plan, and the teams have been formed by various departments. If we talk about the traffic police, the Delhi police, the NDMC, the MCD, and in fact the DPCC, all on the ground to ensure its implementation. But certainly, Divya, the bigger question remains that we have seen as to how, with all the measures that were already in place, the implementation was always a question. So will this time the things change? Will that certainly
Right, Ishika, let's take that to Shreya. Shreya, what kind of fines and penalties are in place for violators?
Well, if we talk about the violations in regard to the kind of vehicle ban are concerned, we know that there is a fine of 10 to 20,000 fine on using vehicles which violate the BS3 and BS4 violations. Right now, we know the GRAB 4 has also been implemented, as per which the entry of trucks and buses in Delhi have been banned, except for the ones, the non-essential trucks are banned, and the ones which are BS6 and CNG, those are the ones which are allowed. And apart from that, as you were saying, that the schools up to class 12 all have shifted to online classes, both in Delhi, Gurugram, Faridabad, and universities like Delhi University, Jawaharlal Nehru University have also shifted to online classes till November 22nd and 23rd because of the alarming pollution levels. And right now I am outside the Indira Gandhi International Airport, and as you can see, the skies are, of course, there is no escape from this toxic haze. It's filled with smog, and of course the temperature has also lowered. It's around 16 degrees Celsius right now. The wind speed is 5 km/h, and the pollution levels is of course at a very high level. The AQI is 494, and we know for a fact that certain measures have definitely been taken, but these are essentially emergency measures, reactive measures. The Supreme Court has also criticized the Commission for Equality Management for the delayed implementation of GRAB 3 and GRAB 4, and for not taking a year-round proactive approach towards curbing air pollution in the national capital. And as far as stubble burning is concerned, we know that yesterday Punjab reported almost 1,200 cases of stubble burning. This definitely has an impact in the national capital, and we also, as per sources, we know that farmers are now altering their burning schedules, the stubble burning schedules, just to evade detection. So this is also something that we need to look at closely. And so how accurate these numbers are, and as far as national capital is concerned, the measures have been implemented, but how much of it is being monitored at the ground level, this is something that we need to do a ground check on.
Right, thank you so much, Shreya, for getting us all those details. And let's get you more on this in regard to what is India doing so wrong when it comes to the pollution problem, particularly in Delhi and the NCR region. To know more on this, we have Zareen Osho, expert on international climate law and policy director, India program at the Institute for Governance and Sustainable Development in Washington, D.C. She's coming to us live from Baku, where COP29 is underway in Azerbaijan. We also have Dr. Palak Balyan, research lead as far as climate trends in India are concerned. Ms. Osho, over to you first in regard to what really China has done. We're talking about a pollution plan that came into place. China that had a pollution plan, say, from back in 2014, 10 years ago, when President Xi Jinping acknowledged the fact that they have a persistent problem and they need to fix it. They went about it in a very systematic manner, and they have managed to clean up their act to quite an extent. What is it that Delhi is doing so wrong, and what is it that Delhi can learn from China?
Hi, Divya, and a very good morning to you from Baku. Thank you so much for having me on the show this morning. What China did is exactly, I think, on paper, what India should do. And a large part of that has already been put together in terms of the policies that have been developed. The problem is in the enforcement of it. When the Chinese government needed to clear the air in Beijing and Shanghai, what they did was to put together an airshed program. An airshed is essentially a geographical area that has a similar weather pattern. So instead of doing this across state lines, which is what India attempts to do, you do it across a geographical area that faces similar weather patterns. So for example, if you look at Delhi, the airshed should extend up to perhaps somewhere close to Chandigarh, because that entire part of that region would have similar weather patterns. So currently the problem is we are trying to tackle the challenge of air quality in Delhi using state lines. When you use state lines, wind still blows across states. So whatever might happen in Delhi, you can still control because that is within the jurisdiction of the state government. But what happens outside is certainly beyond the control of the Delhi government. So to give you an example, Delhi's largest source of black carbon emissions, or PM 2.5, PM 10, comes from the transport sector. You know, we had a report come out very recently that spoke about the pollution contributions from stubble burning, which constitute about 4.4%, whereas transport constitute about 40% of the problem. If this news or this report is coming out now, one begs the question, why is it that the policies are made based on records and information and monitoring systems that are perhaps not correct? Why is it that we are doubling down on farmer fires based on data that is inaccurate? So there's no point in doubling down on farm fires, because that's not necessarily the largest source of emissions. The second is, your colleague mentioned, our farmers are smart enough to know when the satellite crosses over, so that they can evade being picked up and monitored, and they will burn the stubble during the time that there is a crossover between satellites. This is a statement given by NASA.
Right, of course, Ms. Oshra, of course, this comes at a time where 1,200 farm fires have been reported in the last 24 hours.
Exactly.
Let's also go across to Palak. Palak, at a time when the world is looking at India for its development and the changes that are visible at face value, but doesn't this persistent problem show how very little has changed when it comes to pressing matters?
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, rightly said that the problem is persistent, and we are failing at ground, and we are not able to come up with what is expected in terms of clean air. But I must also say that where we are failing is in terms of enforcing all these laws and policies throughout the year. So this is one major problem that we are discussing this thing during this winter season only. So the major important point is to have policy or law enforcement stricter throughout the year, which is one reason that we continuously failing despite being having all the laws on paper, correct laws on papers. So that is one point need to focus on. And the second one is that I completely agree with what ma'am has said just before me, that we need to look at the airshed and all that thing. But when it comes to the city level action plan, we also need to understand what are our local sources. And for that matter, I think transport sector is a major sector where we can do some intervention and actually can see some results out of it. So transport sector is a major sector where I can see from that if we do some intervention and we have some strict enforcement throughout the year, then definitely we might achieve the at least up to the Indian level standard pollution. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much, Palak and Zareen, for joining us on the broadcast this morning. Of course, this comes after NCAP that was launched in 2019, a program to make the national clean air. That was a program that its first national effort that came into place in order to set these clean air targets, aiming at least a reduction by 20 to 30% as far as PM 2.5 levels are concerned by 2024, using 2017 as the base year. But from what we've heard, according to a report by CSE that Delhi has only utilized under 30% of the funds from NCAP between 2019 and 2020, and again in 2023 to 24. So, of course, as far as policies are concerned, they might be in place, but the implementation seems to be lacking, and which is why we are so far behind from Beijing that can clean up its act. But India seems very far behind and has a lot to learn from China. Now let's just talk about the farm fires as Zareed was speaking about, and of course in the last 24 hours 1,200 such incidents of farm fires are being reported from Punjab. 1,251 farm fires to be precise that have been reported from 23 districts in the state, and it is certain areas which are reporting more farm fires than others, and of course this comes at a time where there is a complete crackdown as far as the farmers and the farm fires are concerned. And we have Gurpreet joining us to get us more on this. Gurpreet, what kind of measures are in place in order to ensure that the farmers are taken care of, and yet that they ensure that these farm fires, in order to avoid such farm fires, and do they have solutions in place for the farmers to begin with?
Well, we have seen this is the highest number which has been recorded in Punjab, and specifically we have seen, if we can talk about from the farmer side, the farmers say they don't have equipment to deal with this situation. They say they had already repeatedly requested the government to provide them equipment so that they should not be forced to go for this stubble burning, but somewhere down the lane they say they are not able to get the equipment, and that is one of the main reasons why they have decided to continue this stubble burning on the ground. What we have learned from the farmers, they say they are under tremendous pressure because they are going to sow another crop, and there is a very small time gap, and that was one of the main reasons why this stubble burning is being continued in the various pockets of Punjab. It's not only in Punjab, in Haryana also we have got the visuals from Kathal area where we have seen the stubble burning is still going on. But yes, of course, even the Haryana state says they are trying to advise all the farmers. They are also trying to provide all the equipment so that they should not continue this stubble burning. But somewhere down the lane, it seems the real policy is not being implemented by the Punjab and Haryana government, and that could be possible reasons why this stubble burning is still being continued by the farmers, and it has become one of the main contributor for this pollution in the national capital. And even in Chandigarh also, for the last so many days we have seen the air quality has already been into very poor category, and yesterday when we contacted the pollution department, they say yes, there is a little bit development, there is little bit positiveness in the air because the wind velocity has already been changed, and the quality, air quality has come from very poor to poor. So as of now, it seems for both the governments, whether it's Haryana or Punjab, they need to make a policy that should be implemented on the ground, because if we can talk about the farmers say they are not able to get the equipment. If we can talk about the government say they had already provided all the equipment to the farmers, and still this why this stubble burning is still continuing. And as what we have learned from the local deputy commissioner, they are also made various teams so that there should be camps which will be held with the farmers, and this problem which is going on the nationwide, that should be discussed at the length so that this stubble burning should not happen. So let's see how the governments are going to make a plan and how they are going to execute. But as of now, it seems the government has made a plan, but that has not been executed on the ground, and that could be possible reasons why this stubble burning is still continuing in both the states, whether it's the Punjab and Haryana. In Haryana, we have seen the worst affected areas are NCR, where we have seen all the deputy commissioner, they had already taken a call and they have already shut down the schools for some time so that this air quality should not affect the health of the students. Back to studio.
Thank you so much, Gurpreet, for getting us those details. And switching tracks now to Maharashtra, and a cash seizure has been made just in the run-up to the elections. To remember, elections that will be held tomorrow, Wednesday, the 20th of November. We're talking about almost close to 2 crore rupees that have been seized from a hotel in Nasik. This is a cash seizure that has been made just ahead of the polls in Maharashtra. And to get more on this, we have my colleague Anuj joining us. Anuj, cash that has been recovered apparently belongs to a person who hails from Thane.
Well, yes. In a luxurious hotel in Nasik, we saw that cash up from 2 crore to 5 crore, at least 2 crore, has been taken, taken with them by the election commission officials, and then the vehicles which are going around before the election period. Two things. Firstly, yes, the person is as of now been told that the person is from Thane, and the person also has links to the ruling district. Besides the cash, a car, which belongs to the volunteers, has also been seized from Nashik. This happens in the backdrop of the cash seizure which took place in Mumbai and Thane last week as part of the Election Commission's policy of having of paying surprise visits to different stations, different hotels, and different political activities are at its peak. While there's not a lot of information about the actual affiliation of the person who was carrying the cash, but then it is expected an official confirmation on the same is expected to come out soon, which states that the cash is from the ruling party itself. We've seen that while this is one development that has taken place in Nashik, on the Nashik Eastern constituency, violence broke out between NCP, SP and BJP faction over the rumors of either parties sending or putting out cash or using cash during the NCP period. And this becomes fairly important, especially when we see that the leaders who are getting checked, leaders whose helicopters are getting checked on a regular basis, but then the cash flow still continues when you look at the lower level to road fabric.
Right, Anuj, also let's just listen into what the DM of Nashik had to say.
अभी तक हमें जो जानकारी मिली है वहाँ पर 1,98,00,000 इतने पैसे बरामद हुए हैं। एक्सपेंडिचर ऑब्जर्वर और जो FST की टीम है वो उसके ऊपर आगे कार्रवाई कर रही है। मतदान के समय पर ये इलेक्शन के टाइम कोई भी अगर ऐसा पैसा पकड़ा जाता है तो उसके लिए इलेक्शन कमीशन ने एक SOP बनाई हुई है। उसके हिसाब से जहाँ जिससे पैसा पकड़ा गया है उनको नोटिस दिया जाएगा और उनसे इस पैसे की उपलब्धता के बारे में प्रश्न विचारा जाएगा। अगर वो सेटिस्फाई नहीं कर पाएंगे तो उनके ऊपर कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
And staying with news from Maharashtra, pitched a battle as far as the state is concerned and gauging the mood as far as the farmers in Maharashtra are concerned. What are their expectations as far as Mahayuti and the MV is concerned, and which way are the farmers going to tilt this time around is the big question. Let's take a look at this report brought to you by my colleague Anuj.
क्लाइमेट की वजह से मर रहा है और ये कानून के रूल से मर रहा है।
त्याच्यामुळं सोयाबीन पिकामध्ये ना शेतकरी पूर्ण घाट्यात गेलेला आहे। तर शासनानं याच्यावर 48 जणांना 6 जणांना काही नाही, हमी भाव 10च्या मोहर मिळाला पाहिजे आम्हाला शेतकऱ्यांना।
ड्यूटी बांग्लादेश के जो बढ़ाया है वो कम होना चाहिए और जो पेस्टिसाइड पे लिक्विड फर्टिलाइज़र पे जो GST लगा है 18% वो कम हो गया, तभी ग्रेप फार्मिंग बच सकती है।
किसानों के लिए दिन में लाइट चाहिए, किसानों के लिए जो सुविधा हो, समझो कैनल का पानी हो वो टाइम पे मिलना चाहिए।
In May 2024, the northern Maharashtra region cost BJP some crucial seats. Nashik, a district known for its agricultural prosperity, also rebelled over the onion prices. Leading up to the state assembly elections, soybean seems to have replaced onion in many parts. What makes this more interesting is the fact that soybean is one of the most widely grown crops in the state.
Soybean has become a hot topic here in the political arena of Maharashtra, days before the state goes to poll. There are several districts here in the state which are solely dependent on this crop, soybean, and soybean farmers are under extreme distress if you talk to them. Let us try and understand what is the magnitude of it. But what you see on the screen right now is the amount of soybean which the farmers here have been able to yield in this entire 2 acres of land. They believe that this is just 20 to 25% of what should have ideally been the case, while the majority of it is down in the ground as waste.
जब फडणवीस अपोजिशन में खड़े रहते थे तो 2014 में तो वो 6000 की डिमांड करते थे। अब 6000 डिमांड करते आज 24 से 10 साल हुआ, अभी उन्होंने 10,000 की डिमांड करनी चाहिए मतलब देनी चाहिए, कि वो अभी सरकार में बैठे हैं ना, तो देनी चाहिए, वो दे नहीं रहे। खाली बोलने का, जब इलेक्शन आता है, लोकसभा आई तब एक बात करने की, विधानसभा आई तब एक बात करने की। किसान इसमें मर रहा है। एक तो क्लाइमेट की वजह से मर रहा है, और ये कानून के रूल से मर रहा है।
सोयाबीन पिकवणाऱ्या शेतकऱ्यांवर आव्हान म्हणजे हा जो पेड आहे सोयाबीनचा, हा एक तर जादा टेम्परेचरमध्ये, जादा पावसामध्ये आहे ना, याची शेंग फुटते, शेंग फुटून जाती, मजुराची अडचण आहे, मजूर टाईमवर मिळत नाही, रेट मिळत नाही टाईमवर, त्याच्यामुळं सोयाबीन पिकामध्ये आहे ना शेतकरी पूर्ण घाट्यात गेलेला आहे. तर शासनानं याच्यावर 48 आणि 6,000 काही नाही, हमी भाव 10च्या मोहर मिळाला पाहिजे आम्हाला शेतकऱ्यांना.
When you look at Nashik region, it can be divided into several parts, right? Some parts of it get enough water while some don't. Some are a little more flourishing than the others. I'm present here in the Yevla Taluka of Nashik region, of North Maharashtrian region, and this is where the soybean issue is probably the hottest in this entire region. जो हमी भाव सरकार ने फिलहाल मंजूर किया है वो है 5,000 के करीब. सबसे पहले बताइए कि क्या जो 4,890 का हमी भाव जो सरकार ने मंजूर किया है, क्या वो आपको मिल रहा है फिलहाल?
नहीं मिलेगा.
कितना मिल रहा है अभी आपको?
आपको 41
4100
41
4,100 रुपये मिल रहा है.
100 रुपये मिलेगा.
Local leaders are contesting the election from Niphad have different opinions on the entire issue. While the incumbent MLA believes that the issue isn't that big in Nashik, the opposition thinks farmers will hit back through their votes.
किसानों के लिए क्या चाहिए? खेती माल को अच्छी तरह मुआवजा मिलना चाहिए खेती माल का, और बीज का मुआवजा, बीज कम भाव में मिलना चाहिए, किसानों को खाद मिलना चाहिए, जो पहले 800 में थी अभी 1600 मिल रही है, 1800 में मिल रही है. किसानों के लिए दिन में लाइट चाहिए, किसानों के लिए जो सुविधा हो, समझो कैनल का पानी हो, वो टाइम पे मिलना चाहिए, वो ये देना चाहिए. वो ये जो सरकार दे रही PM किसान और ये लाडली बहना, वो कुछ नहीं चाहिए. किसान अभी भी वो कमज़ोर नहीं है. किसान अपने तरफ से जिंदा है, पर वो क्या है कि वो ऐसा समझो का तो किसानों के लिए ना सरकार जो ये रकम दे रही है, उससे किसान के लिए ऐसा लग रहा है कि वो कमज़ोर हो गया.
हमने किसानों को बोला है जिसको माल बेचना है वो अगर मार्केट में बेचेंगे, उसका जो डिफरेंस रहेगा वो अपन राज्य सरकार की तरफ से दे सकते हैं.
Farmer of soybean has been suffering. They have been expecting the rates of 10,000, whereas it is below 4. So altogether, farmers definitely will prove themselves with voting against this all issues.
An inconsistent oil import policy, a staggeringly low MSP, and lack of basic facilities from electricity to even water are some of the many reasons why the soybean farmers here in Nashik are dissatisfied with the current dispensation. While some believe that the schemes brought in by the government lately have actually helped them enough to compensate for the little price they're getting for soybean, the others believe that the government might need to pay a heavy price on the 23rd of this month. How many of these people will actually turn out on the 20th of this month and vote accordingly is something that we'll have to wait and watch out for. With camera person Mahesh Halwai, this is Anuj Raite reporting for NDTV from Nashik.
And switching tracks, now the Competition Commission of India has imposed a penalty of over 200 crore rupees on Meta for abusing its dominant position. And to get more on this, we have my colleague Sunil Prabhu joining us. Sunil, Mark Zuckerberg owned Meta that owns Instagram and WhatsApp has been fined for its unfair ways of business with respect to its privacy update. What unfair means are we talking about?
Well, this dates back to 2021 when, WhatsApp had changed its privacy policy
and that made it across the board. You had to take it or leave it kind of approach in India. Whereas, for example, in the Europe and various other foreign countries, that option wasn't there because of the strong privacy laws. So they couldn't make it, a consumer or somebody who was using WhatsApp had an option of leaving it in mass or whatever as it happened at that stage. But in the case of India, it was take it or leave it approach. And it's on that basis that Meta was able to share the details across its various channels, from WhatsApp to various other people. That data was given. And CCI, which is the Competition Commission of India, has fined Meta for that because they felt that this was an unfair practice, because across other spectrums, be it in other, be Facebook or various other networks that Meta has, it had become extremely difficult for others to make an entry, and felt that is an unfair practice. And it's on that basis that they have fined Meta 213 crores. We'll have to wait and see how Meta responds to this, whether it challenges this decision. This, of course, is because there is already a huge demand which is still pending before the Supreme Court on a constitutional question about privacy and across the board, whether people can use data laws as they are doing in the flagrant manner that they have done. Because clearly India needs to step up, just like it has done in Europe, and ensure that there is a level playing field.
Right, of course, Sunil, we will keep tracking the story, and this comes on the heels of more trouble when it comes to Meta, because just 4 days ago, Meta was fined $846 million for breaking EU antitrust rules. Sunil, thank you for joining us. Switching tracks now to Manipur, and as far as the unrest is concerned, the situation is under the scanner of the Home Ministry, and it is the Chief Minister who's chairing key NDA meetings in Imphal. Now, Assam has gone ahead and sealed its border with Manipur. As that meeting that is coming about, the NDA MLAs called for the NIA to take over the cases and key resolution as far as the Armed Forces Special Power Act at the NDA meeting. Let's just cut across now to my colleague Saurabh, who's joining us. But before that, let's just listen in to what is being said by Assam in regard to the situation on the ground.
असम मणिपुर बॉर्डर जो एरिया है, पूरे एरिया हम लोगों ने सील कर दिया है। यहाँ पे कोई जो मतलब लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन कोई ना हो, इसके लिए हर तरफ से हमने पुलिस का बंदोबस्त किया है। हमारा यहाँ पे कमांडो फोर्सेस है। यहाँ पे जो मतलब नेबरिंग स्टेट में उनका जिरीबाम डिस्ट्रिक्ट में जो वहाँ पे कुछ दिनों से जो परिस्थिति पैदा हुआ है, मतलब जैसे लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन पैदा हुआ है, उसका कोई सुविधा लेके आके यहाँ कोई अशांति ना करे, उसके लिए हर तरह से हम तैनात हैं।
We have just received the resolutions copy of the meeting of the ruling MLAs, which the people of Manipur have been eagerly waiting for, and since last couple of days. And as per the resolutions that we have received, the people of Manipur is not satisfied with the resolutions taken. Then we again set another timeline for them. That's within the next 24 hours. We want the government and the legislature to review this resolution again and come back with a better resolutions which satisfies the people of Manipur.
And Saurabh with us. Saurabh, well, it is the police in Assam that have deployed commandos at the border and sealed the border with Manipur.
Well, Manipur remains a very huge concern. There are several meetings that have taken place, but what has happened is that in the state, there are contradictory demands and aspirations from two sections of society that have been engaged in an ethnic conflict since the 3rd of May last year. Now, what has happened now is that with this Armed Forces Special Powers Act, AFSPA, in 6 police station areas in Imphal, that has led to a fresh also a demand of, sort of review that has come from not only the Chief Minister, but also these groups that have now also spoken out. And the elected MLAs are under a lot of pressure, as this demand is outlined by these groups. Also, what you know is that the security decisions and the security management of the state of Manipur is with a unified command, and that includes agencies including the CAPFs that have been deployed, including the CRPF, and the CRPF DG, no less, is also on the ground. The Home Minister of India has held 2 meetings on the security situation in Manipur. So it is a very, very delicate situation, and also there is a build-up happening. There's an plan to intensify these protests that we've seen in the state, both in the Imphal Valley, which is of course the largely home to the Meitei population, and also in the hills, which is home to the Kuki-Zo population. And in the Kuki-Zo areas of the Manipur Hills, what we are expecting today is a coffin rally with the coffins of those who were gunned down in a shootout with security forces. The security forces had said that they'd gunned down some militants, but this coffin rally is taking place in the Kuki-Zo areas, while the plans to intensify protests in Imphal Valley are also happening, along with Assam sealing its border.
Right. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for getting us all those details. Now, switching tracks, the Health Secretary has written to all states after the tragedy that unfolded in Jhansi. We're talking about the hospital fire tragedy. And since then, now new rules are in place in regard to conducting regular preventive fire safety drills, including evacuation plans. We have my colleague joining us in order to get us more on this. Tanushka, what are the measures that are being highlighted in this plan that the Health Secretary has spoken about?
Right, where the Health Secretary wrote out to the Chief Secretaries of all the states with respect to a fire safety and health facilities plan after, the death toll rose to 12 infants at this hospital in Jhansi with the fire accident. It is to review and update fire prevention and response plans of all healthcare facilities and hospitals across the country and train healthcare officials in fire safety protocols, evacuation plans and procedures, and use of fire safety equipment as well. Conducting regular preventive fire safety drills is also part of this, plan that should be implemented by all the states, and a district level committee is also expected to be formulated by all the states and union territories, which should be headed by the district collectors, comprising of relevant officials from health and fire services departments as well. So both departments working together to ensure that the installation and optimum maintenance of these fire safety and fire detection programs and functions are also in place, such as the smoke alarms, the fire extinguishers, and regular checks on the expiry date of these sprinklers as well. So such a committee will also be directed to undertake suitable action against defaulters as well as deemed necessary as and when. So these are, a full formulated plan that has come out from the Health Ministry to all the Chief Secretaries of the state with respect to the fire safety mechanism in all hospitals and healthcare centers across the country.
Right. Of course, this is in regard, this is in wake of the tragedy that unfolded in Jhansi's hospital. Now, the Union Health Secretary has written to states urgently undertaking evaluations of hospitals to check whether they have functional firefighting systems. They've been asked to check those systems regularly, maintain those systems, and also keep getting them tested, whether it's electrical load that is being audited and whether oxygen tanks are stored safely. Let's just switch our tracks now to more news. This is we will get you a whole lot on the other side in in the run-up to the elections that are going to take place in Maharashtra and Jharkhand. But for now, we're slipping into a very short break.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Download any single ID partner app, link your card and earn reward with top brand.
Get it free with single ID.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
ऐसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए.
In the presence of those who are shaping our
Welcome back. Now, the Mumbai Art Show concluded recently in Mumbai's Mahalakshmi Racecourse. This year, the show was even grander in comparison to last, as it attracted bigger crowds and promoted South Asian art at an international level. NDTV spoke to the organizers of this event. Let's listen in.
Often referred to be the Asia's century when we talk about several fields. Do you think it is true for art as well?
I think indeed the tide is turning. I think if you look at lots of things happening around the world, everything is shifting this side. India, for example, is a very young country. There's a tremendous opportunity, tremendous potential for growth, whereas the established sort of Western countries like Europe and America, they're a bit more stifled. So yes, I see there's great potential in India and South Asia.
India has always had a very rich history of art, but unlike many other countries, Indian art cannot be put into one singular bracket. There's a lot of diversity in the country itself. So when this particular art is presented internationally, do the international artists, galleries take it into consideration that India is just a very plural society and it cannot be presented as a singular entity?
I think that when people come to India, they do understand that India is a very rich country, culturally and very diverse, and it's something which never leaves them. So I think that internationally, people do highly respect, but also they need to understand India. They need to come here, and this platform, for example, this art fair in Mumbai, is a great opportunity for people to come. And this year we have invited lots of foreign guests. There's people from Eastern Europe, from Latvia, from Sweden, from America, from London, and this will be their first time in India.
A lot of art pieces which are present here seem to have a lot of social relevance, be it about urban lifestyle, be it about nature conservation. How important do you think it is for this festival to provide a platform to artists to have that kind of voice?
Well, I think what art does is it provides a space and a voice sometimes for words that cannot be spoken and ideas that cannot be expressed. Now, whether you call that subversion or you may call it a different way of expressing ourselves, it is a reflection of our culture. And what we see here is we see works that will emphasize the need for sustainability, to protect our climate, to engage with other human beings, to create a sense of collaboration and unity. There are so many different themes that are being explored, and I think it's up to the viewer to really connect with what the artist is visualizing and what they're trying to put forward. I think what an art fair like this does, which is fantastic, is it brings together so many different artists from so many different galleries and gives everyone the opportunity within a very compressed time frame of 4 days here to be able to see and view and talk to people, to engage, to learn, and really be able to form their own opinions. I think for all of us to inform ourselves and educate ourselves. And out of these 4 days, what we hope people will get is not just viewing the art, but also understanding a bit of themselves and understanding a bit of expression in a way that I don't think they could anywhere else.
And let's just get you more news coming in, and this is in regard to the United States as urging Bangladesh to end the violent crackdown. The United States has gone on to say that they do not support the government in Bangladesh in its regard to the violent crackdown against peaceful protests. This is a statement after the recent clashes that broke out in Bangladesh, where this was a protest against, amidst the protesters with the face-off that took place with the police. Now, the United States voices its disapproval after those recent clashes amidst the protesters and the police on the ground. And now in July 2023, the Harpic School Sanitation Program launched in 2,000 schools across Odisha using pop-up storybooks and do-it-yourself kits to teach hygiene. It has impacted 9 lakh lives, creating young ambassadors to a healthier future. Watch this inspiring story.
In the fight against infectious diseases, proper sanitation stands as our first line of defense. At its heart are toilets, silent guardians that safeguard clean water and protect community health. Now, when we educate children about sanitation early, we're not just protecting their health, we're nurturing ambassadors who carry these vital practices into their homes and communities. The Harpic School Sanitation Program has been making a difference since July 1st, 2023, reaching 2,000 schools across 10 districts of Odisha.
आमर गोटे टीचर्स ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम कराइला आ प्रधान शिक्षक हिसाब से मुई भी सेन जाइली जोग देइली सेन आमको सुंदर भाव में ट्रेनिंग दिहला आमे माने पायखानार व्यवहार केनता करी हेबा आमे चप्पल व्यवहार करा हाथ धुआर सब जाक से आमको ट्रेनिंग देले जेनटा कि आमे ट्रेनिंग नहीं करी आसला परे मुई स्कूल रे मोर सहकर्मी मानको आउ आमर छात्र छात्री मानको मुझे ट्रेनिंग देली आ से दिन ठारू आमर छात्र छात्री माने भी आमर पायखानार व्यवहार सुंदर भाव में करुछन चप्पल पिंधि करी जाउछन 20 सेकेंड हाथ धुचन
मु जेतल व्यक्तिगत भाव अनेक विद्यालय को जाइछि मॉनिटरिंग करिया को सेतक देखिछि एई स्थान मानकरे जो स्थान मानकरे पूर्व आम देखुलु कौन प्रकार ये डिसइनफेक्टेंट जिनस रखा जाऊ नथिला एबे किंतु जोगा दे दिया किट रु आउ सेमाने मध्य निजे तांको तरफ एगुड़िक रेगुलर व्यवहार करुछन्ति एवं निश्चित रूपे पिलामानक पाखरे गोटे सचेतनता सृष्टि होइछि.
A toilet's presence alone isn't enough. Proper maintenance breathes life into these facilities. The program employs creative tools to make this learning engaging and memorable. From enchanting pop-up storybooks featuring lovable Muppets like KK Kitanu and Neela Jadugar to hands-on 3D DIY kits designed specifically for young minds. Interactive demonstrations bring lessons to life, while visual aids from vibrant wall art to eye-catching posters, banners and standees reinforce these crucial messages.
आम विद्यालय स्वच्छता विषय शिखा खेलना मध्यम बही मध्यम शिखा गला बेले चप्पल पिंधिकी जीवु स्वच्छता कला कर सारा पानी ढालू आसला बेले हाथ धोबू आम पर जो पिलाटी जीव तापाई स्वच्छता रखिबू.
The program impact 300,000 children directly engaged in target schools, 600,000 children reached through peer education in neighboring communities, total impact 900,000 young lives transformed. While World Toilet Day spotlights these crucial issues annually, the Harpic School Sanitation Program works tirelessly every day, planting seeds of change through proper toilet usage and hand washing habits. It's more than education. It's a movement towards a cleaner, healthier future, nurturing habits that will protect generations to come.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
The last elections of 2024. It's the battle for India's economic heart. An election that will decide Maharashtra's future.
Can the big brother BJP manage the competing ambitions of Mahayuti? Can the Red Book rally the voters once again for Congress and its allies? So as Maharashtra's future trajectory takes shape, we report from the ground.
Two visions, two ideology, one verdict.
An election where no caste chemistry can yield a perfect formula.
It's a state that is splintered with power battles. The big question, will Maharashtra poll outcome unify parties or divide them further? And who will emerge as Maharashtra's undisputed leader?
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
Delhi chokes in a severely toxic air quality, which is nearing the 500 mark, and the smog situation that visibly seems to have eased slightly this morning, but the data that's coming about shows that we continue to be in the severe category. Delhi NCR has now switched to the online mode of classes, including class 10 and 12 amid the offline smog battle. All schools have now switched, including Delhi, Gurugram, as well as Ghaziabad and Faridabad. And just ahead of polling in Maharashtra, a major gas seizure that's taken place in a hotel in Nasik. We're talking about close to 2 crore rupees that have been seized from that hotel in the poll-bound state. The Chief Minister in Manipur is chairing a meeting of NDA MLAs. This is a key resolution on the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, while Assam has sealed its borders with Manipur and the police there has deployed commandos. And it's India's antitrust watchdog that has slapped a fine of over 200 crore rupees. We're talking about the Competition Commission of India slapping that penalty on the social media giant Meta on its WhatsApp privacy policy update. This is back in 2021. And the United States urges Bangladesh to end its violent crackdowns, telling Bangladesh that it is not in favor and that it does not support the government's engagement in violent crackdowns on peaceful protesters. Let's get to our top focus. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Divya Vatva. We have a whole lot lined up for you, but our focus here on NDTV is the pollution problem, a permanent problem come winter that the national capital faces. Today is no different in terms of the data that's coming about. We're close to 500 points in certain areas of the national capital where pollution levels are highly toxic and highly dangerous. It's yet another day of pollution levels of being in the dangerous category. The air quality, not just here in the national capital, but adjoining areas are equally impacted. We're talking about Noida, Ghaziabad, as well as Gurugram reaching those alarmingly high levels yet again. Visibly, it was slightly better this morning as far as the situation on the ground is concerned, but data-wise, there is no improvement. Just yesterday, we saw certain areas of the national capital where the AQI was crossing the 1,000 mark. We're talking about 1,200 points in certain areas of the national capital. Now, a dense layer of smog continues as far as the Delhi NCR region is concerned for the 7th consecutive day, while the Union Health Secretary has issued an updated advisory to the states and union territories regarding air pollution. The Delhi University has also decided to shift to online classes, just like now all school classes will be online, including Class 10 and Class 12. We have my colleague Shreya joining us as well as Ishika joining us. Shreya, over to you first. Take us through the situation on the ground. Is it getting better as the day progresses?
Well, if we compare the AQI levels with yesterday's, of course, the situation is much better today. You can see the sun is out, the smog levels is slightly lesser than what it was yesterday, although the AQI levels have reached the severe plus category. It is around 492 right now, and the GRAB 4 measures have been implemented. The air continues to be as poisonous as ever. The Delhiites continue to fight this medical emergency fueled by the toxic pollution, although people have begun to enjoy the chilly weather because the temperature is going down, but one must not be mistaken. The air is not just the dense fog, but it is smoke plus fog, and the smog is extremely harmful for people's health. We know for young children particularly, they are developing asthma at a very young age because of the high pollution levels, and which gives rise to these major micro pollutants called PM 2.5, which permeates the environment and the lungs, giving rise to several health pollution related illnesses. And women, pregnant women are also very vulnerable to the pollution levels, and senior citizens with already existing heart and lungs issues are also very vulnerable to developing pollution related illnesses. Although as per the GRAB 4 measures, people are recommended to stay indoors. The ones who are privileged enough to do that should follow it, should stay indoors, use air purifiers. If they're stepping out, they should put on a clear clinical mask. This is what the recommendations entail, but we know a large number of people have to step out. They have to continue with their day-to-day work, but the other measures that are also implemented as per GRAB 4 is, of course, the prohibition of non-essential trucks and the ones which, of course, do not meet the BS6 and CNG standards. Those are completely prohibited. There is a complete ban on construction and demolition activities. So these emergency measures are taken to reduce dust pollution as much as possible. Although the Commission for Air Quality Management has been severely criticized by the Supreme Court for not taking a proactive proactive action, for not taking a year-round proactive approach in curbing the air pollution, and for delaying the implementation of these GRAP measures. Of course, as you were saying, right now the students will also have online classes. This definitely has a negative impact on the quality of education that are being given, because both these main universities, Delhi University, Jawaharlal Nehru University, have shifted to online classes, as well as all schools in Delhi, Gurgaon, Faridabad have shifted to online classes till November 22nd, 23rd. Supreme Court has also said that these GRAP 4 measures will be in place even if the AQI falls below 450. They shouldn't lift these measures. They shouldn't remove these measures without the court's permission. So all these measures, knee-jerk reactions, are being taken also by the Delhi government. Delhi government has clearly stated that there should be more and more options of work from home. Both public and private offices should have 50% capacity of individuals working, so that there is less impact on the traffic congestion, because we know that vehicular emission is the rising contributor, is the most important contributor to the national capital's air pollution. Although we have seen a spike in stubble burning cases in Punjab, we know that it is mostly the vehicular emission that causes the hazardous air quality, especially during the winter seasons in the national capital. Back to you.
Right, of course, the situation on the ground as far as the smog situation is concerned. Ishika, over to you. Shreya saying that the sun is now finally trying to pierce through, is coming out finally. Of course, it's it's going to be long before we can actually see clear skies and a sky full of stars in the national capital. Take us through what the Met Office is saying in terms of the weather conditions.
Well, Divya, as my colleague Shreya was rightly pointing it out, that the sun is, in fact, you can see that the sun is now coming up, because of which, in fact, we are seeing that the air quality index is improving even slightest. If we talk about the present air quality index that has been recorded, well, it has been recorded at 488 now. In morning that we were reporting, in fact, it was at, 492. But we are currently present here, Divya, in Anand Vihar. Now, let me tell you first, in fact, first my camera person will show you. Here we are showing you that the air quality index in Anand Vihar, as per the CPCB data, stands at 499. That is, in fact, just a thread away from touching the 500 AQI. So you can look at, in fact, the sky here, the smog that continues to be present here. But the sad part here is, in fact, Divya, that, my camera person will, in fact, pan around and show you. You can see the people here not, in fact, aware as to, that they need to wear the mask as precautionary measures. In fact, if you look at, there are certainly, few officers also who are present, for the buses as well, but even they are not wearing masks here. So public awareness, if we talk about here presently, currently remains to be absent among the people, and that is what, in fact, needs to be done from the side of the government as well. Now, in fact, as you were also pointing out, today is the second day that Graded Response Action Plan Stage 4 has been imposed. There are numerous restrictions under it, but how much of it is actually going to be implemented, that certainly remains to be a question. Now, if we talk about the weather conditions, certainly, it has come from the side of the government as well, and also from the side of the Met Department, that they, in fact, believe that in the coming few days, the temperature might, in fact, rise again. That would improve a bit of the air quality levels. And in fact, the wind speed also might also improve. So that remains to be seen as to whether or not able to help in bringing down the pollution levels or not. But as we talk about the experts, they tell the people to be to take precautions themselves, to keep to keep a mask with them whenever they have to go outside. And also, in fact, the experts are here trying to tell the government that this Graded Response Action Plan that we talked about, on which the last stage is already imposed, this is just a temporary measure. The government needs to think more regarding the permanent solution that they can give to the residents here of the national capital. Over to you.
Right, Shreya, of course, Shreya and Ishika are taking us through the situation on the ground, and I am just looking at data coming in at the moment, and area of Vasundhara and Ghaziabad where the pollution count is at 999. In Greater Noida, not very far from our office at the moment, the pollution level is coming in at 789 points. So overall, the AQI might be nearing the 500 mark, but when we talk about individual pockets, the pollution problem is off the charts and is beyond repair at this point in time. Now let's just also talk about the pollution as far as the adjoining state of Rajasthan is concerned. While the air in most of Rajasthan remains largely clear, but the capital city, we're talking about Jaipur, that's recording an AQI of only 150. Is the southern districts of Rajasthan also witnessing clear skies, but districts bordering Delhi have recorded bad air quality, especially due to stubble burning in areas of Churu as well as Bhiwadi. The AQI remains above 400 points. We have my colleague Harsha joining us. Harsha, take us through, how drastically different is the situation on the ground when it comes to the state of Rajasthan, particularly in the areas bordering Delhi.
Absolutely. The areas bordering Delhi are bearing the brunt of very poor air quality. Now, Bhiwadi, in fact, this morning was at 424. Now, Bhiwadi, remember, is just about an hour and a half, 2 hours drive from Delhi. Also, Jhunjhunu, Bikaner are not doing too well. They're still at about 286. At 286, there's Churu, which is at 224, which is not so bad. But, as the day progresses, yesterday they were above the 400 mark. So this is still a poor quality. In fact, 12 districts in Rajasthan are a poor quality index. Of course, not as bad as Delhi. As far as Jaipur is concerned, it's at about 150 this morning. But as the day progresses, it will go up to 180, 202 it was till yesterday. Of course, if you want to take a break and get away from Delhi, I would definitely recommend that you go to South Rajasthan, where the air quality is very good. So Udaipur is very good. It's under 100. Ajmer is at about 75. Mount Abu has the clearest skies. It's a little hill station, absolutely idyllic on the Rajasthan-Gujarat border. So if you really want to get some fresh air into your lungs, go to Abu, but definitely a cause of concern for the rest of the districts in Rajasthan. And so far, the government has not put any restrictive movements in place. Schools, colleges, offices are as normal because we haven't reached the 400 mark in anywhere except in, of course, Churu, Jhunjhunu and Bikaner, where the district collector yesterday actually took a meeting in Jhunjhunu.
Right, Harsha, let's just get a sense of the situation on the ground with the BJP taking action against the inaction of the government of Delhi. Ishika, over to you. There's a protest that is taking place in the national capital, which has been organized by the BJP. Do remember yesterday the BJP was distributing masks in Delhi. This is as the pollution politics that peaks. Of course, the blame game that continues. But, especially on the ground, what was really needed is integrated effort. That it should be a combined effort of the state and the government. Ishika, take us through the demands of the people protesting.
Well, in fact, certainly as the air quality index goes to the severe plus category, the pollution over this, the politics, in fact, over pollution also is peaking here. We are showing you currently that, the visuals that BJP is currently staging. In fact, you can.
प्रमोद जी जहाँ आप खड़े हैं वहाँ से फ्रेम बन पा रहा है। बन रहा है। दिल्ली में बढ़ते प्रदूषण के लिए प्रमुख रूप से किसे जिम्मेवार मानते हैं?
दिल्ली में बढ़ता हुआ दिल्ली दिल्ली में बढ़ता हुआ प्रदूषण
दिल्ली सरकार की नाम है। कल जिस बेशर्मी से दिल्ली की मुख्यमंत्री दूसरे राज्यों पे दोष डाल रही थी, उनको एक बार सरकारी आंकड़े देख लेने चाहिए। 18 नवंबर कल मात्र पंजाब में अकेले 1251 घटनाएं पराली जलाने की हुई हैं, जबकि यूपी में 133 और हरियाणा में मात्र 38 थीं। तो आप समझ सकते हैं कि कौन ज़्यादा पराली के धुएं का दोषी है। आज हम आनंद विहार पर खड़े हैं। आज से 2 साल पहले दिल्ली में 2 ट्रिगर पॉइंट होते थे पोल्यूशन के, और आज दिल्ली पे है। क्या कारण है? कारण साफ है कि दिल्ली में सड़कों की मरम्मत नहीं हुई है। धूल मिट्टी, व्हीकल पोल्यूशन और दिल्ली सरकार का फेलियर। अगर इन्होंने सड़कों की रिपेयर कर दी होती, सड़कों के गड्ढे भर दिए होते, धूल को कंट्रोल। क्या कारण है? कारण साफ है कि दिल्ली में सड़कों की मरम्मत नहीं हुई है। धूल मिट्टी, व्हीकल पोल्यूशन और दिल्ली सरकार का फेलियर। अगर इन्होंने सड़कों की रिपेयर कर दी होती, सड़कों के गड्ढे भर दिए होते, धूल को कंट्रोल कर लिया होता, तो शायद दिल्ली को बचाया जा सकता था। 2.25 लाख से ज़्यादा मशीनें पराली की पंजाब सरकार के डीएम ऑफिस से गायब हो जाती हैं। नेशनल क्लीन एयर प्रोग्राम के तहत पंजाब को 38.5 करोड़ और दिल्ली को 37 करोड़ रुपया दिया जाता है, लेकिन वो खर्च नहीं किया जाता है। तो भ्रष्टाचार इस सीमा तक है जिसकी मार दिल्ली वाले भुगत रहे हैं। और ये जो मास्क है, ये आने वाली चेतावनी है कि अगर अरविंद केजरीवाल सरकार को यहाँ से नहीं हटाया तो आने वाला दिन वो दूर नहीं कि जब दिल्ली वाला ऐसे मास्क पहनने के लिए मजबूर होगा।
Right, just ahead of elections coming up next year as far as the national capital is concerned, and the BJP, they're taking to the streets warning the people of the impact of pollution and of course the inaction when it comes to the government. Do remember that NCAP that had been launched in 2019 had a target of bringing down pollution by 20 to 30% by 2024 with a base of 2017 as its base year. Of course, from what we're hearing, according to the CSE report, that less than 30% has been spent in the last 1 year of the money that has been set aside for NCAP. Let's now switch tracks from Delhi to Maharashtra, and cash seizure has been, there's money that's been recovered just a day ahead of the elections which will be held in the state of Maharashtra. We're talking about close to 2 crore rupees in cash that has been seized from a hotel in Nasik.
अभी तक हमें जो जानकारी मिली है वहाँ पर 1 करोड़ 98 लाख इतने पैसे बरामद हुए हैं। एक्सपेंडिचर ऑब्जर्वर और जो एफएसटी की टीम है वो उसके ऊपर आगे कार्रवाई कर रही है। मतदान के समय पर ये इलेक्शन के टाइम कोई भी अगर ऐसा पैसा पकड़ा जाता है तो उसके लिए इलेक्शन कमीशन ने एक एसओपी बनाई हुई है। उसके हिसाब से जहां जिससे पैसा पकड़ा गया है उनको नोटिस दिया जाएगा और उनसे इस पैसे की उपलब्धता के बारे में प्रश्न विचारा जाएगा। अगर वो सेटिस्फाई नहीं कर पाएंगे तो उनके ऊपर कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
And to get more of this, we have my colleague Anuj joining us. Anuj, take us through the details that you have for us of this cash that has been recovered from this hotel in Nasik just ahead of the elections which will be held tomorrow in that single phase in the state of Maharashtra. The person to whom this cash belongs to hails from Thane.
The cash seizure happened at one of the top luxurious hotels in Nashik yesterday. And this is one of the several incidents that have come out from the Nashik region in recent past. As far as the election is concerned, there has been some sort of violence there as well when it comes to the rival faction of the other parties spending cash or giving away money to the voters. But what we saw yesterday is that a cash seizure of close to 2 crore rupees took place from a luxury hotel. And although the official confirmation is yet to come on what are the actual political affiliations of the people who are holding this cash, but it is instead, or it has been reported that they had some sort of relations with the ruling dispensation. Besides the cash, a car was also seized from them. Now the police and the local authorities will investigate those, with whom the cash was found to find out mitigations, and what kind of nexus was this a part of? This is a part of the crackdown that the ECI is trying to put across the state when it comes to cash flow before the elections. We saw that such kind of activities took place in Thane and Mumbai region as well. This happens parallelly when the helicopters and the cars of all the major leaders who are coming to the state, either from Delhi or from the other states, as far as Chief Minister is concerned, is happening. But while the critics are questioning that while the top leaders are being checked thoroughly, how is the cash flow happening so peacefully on ground? And that is where the Election Commission of India needs to come through.
Right. Anuj, stay with us for our next story as well. Coming out of Maharashtra is former Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh's car that was attacked in Nagpur yesterday. Stones were pelted at his car and he got injured in that incident, and he was rushed to the hospital for treatment. Now, what is really being said about this attack as far as MBA workers are concerned who were protesting outside the police station? Now, Anil Deshmukh is going to be recording his statement today, and the cops are going to file a case of attempt to murder. Anuj, take us through the health update of the leader, and of course also he was there campaigning for his son on the last very day of campaigning for the state of Maharashtra. Now, what are the reports suggesting? How did this attack come about?
As far as the health condition is concerned, Anil Deshmukh is doing fine at the moment. The injury was there to his head, and some stitches have they put some stitches there to manage it. But the doctors have confirmed that the night was spent peacefully, and now he is completely out of danger. But he is resting at the moment. The official statement by Anil Deshmukh is expected to come out anytime soon. What happened yesterday is that Anil Deshmukh was in Katol, a village close by Katol, campaigning for his son Anil Deshmukh, the official candidate of the NCP Sharad Pawar faction, and when he was traveling from an arcade to Katol, via road, he also had his security vehicle trailing behind him, but seizing the opportunity of it being very dark at close to 8 to 9 p.m. The eyewitnesses confirmed that there were 4 to 5 people who had their mouths, had their faces covered with a handkerchief and with masks, and they threw stones at Anil Deshmukh's car, and they've also allegedly given slogans in support of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Now, because this happened 36 hours before the state goes to poll, we've seen that political reactions have started coming in from different spectrums. The MVA has directly blamed the Mahayuti, or especially Bharatiya Janata Party, for this particular attempt, whereas the Bharatiya Janata Party is appealing that this entire thing is a stunt which has been put in place by the NCP Sharad Pawar faction themselves. More importantly, Anil Deshmukh has been very vocal against Devendra Fadnavis in the last 1 or 2 years. And he's also spent a considerable amount of time, close to 9 months in jail in relation to cases which were filed against him, especially by the Deputy Chief Minister and the then Home Minister, Devendra Fadnavis. In with regards to that, we've been very vocal about, what exactly went on, the communication that happened between Devendra Fadnavis's, delegate and Anil Deshmukh. And this has been a very hot topic, especially leading up to this election. So the links of those who attempted this particular attack are yet to be established completely, especially as far as the police version is concerned. But the opposition certainly believes that the Bharatiya Janata Party has a role.
Right. Also, Anuj, of course, that pitch when it comes to the battleground of Maharashtra, and of course, the farmers and the mood of the farmers, Anuj gets us a sneak peek into what is it that the farmers really want from the parties this time around. Of course, it is the Mahayuti versus the MVA. Let's take a look at what the farmers have to say.
क्लाइमेट की वजह से मर रहा है और ये कानून के रूल से मर रहा है.
त्याच्यामुळं सोयाबीन पिकामध्ये ना शेतकरी पूर्ण घाट्यात गेलेला आहे. तर शासनानं याच्यावर 48 जणांना 6 हजारांना काही नाही, हमी भाव 10च्या मोहर मिळाला पाहिजे आम्हाला शेतकऱ्यांना.
ड्यूटी बांग्लादेश के जो बढ़ाया है वो कम होना चाहिए, और जो पेस्टिसाइड पे, लिक्विड फर्टिलाइज़र पे जो GST लगा है 18% वो कम हो गया, तभी ग्रेप फार्मिंग बच सकती है.
किसानों के लिए दिन में लाइट चाहिए, किसानों के लिए जो सुविधा हो, समझो कैनल का पानी हो, वो टाइम पे मिलना चाहिए।
In May 2024, the northern Maharashtra region cost BJP some crucial seats. Nashik, a district known for its agricultural prosperity, also rebelled over the onion prices. Leading up to the state assembly elections, soybean seems to have replaced onion in many parts. What makes this more interesting is the fact that soybean is one of the most widely grown crops in the state. Soybean has become a hot topic here in the political arena of Maharashtra days before the state goes to poll. There are several districts here in the state which are solely dependent on this crop, soybean, and soybean farmers are under extreme distress if you talk to them. Let us try and understand what is the magnitude of it. But what you see on the screen right now is the amount of soybean which the farmers here have been able to yield in this entire 2 acres of land. They believe that this is just 20 to 25% of what should have ideally been the case, while the majority of it is down in the ground as waste.
जब फडणवीस अपोजिशन में खड़े रहते थे तो 2014 में तो वो 6000 की डिमांड करते थे। अब 6000 डिमांड करते आज 24 से 10 साल हुआ। अभी उन्होंने 10,000 की डिमांड करनी चाहिए मतलब देनी चाहिए क्योंकि वो अभी सरकार में बैठे हैं ना, तो देनी चाहिए, वो दे नहीं रहे। खाली बोलने का, जब इलेक्शन आता है, लोकसभा आई तब एक बात करने की, विधानसभा आई तब एक बात करने की। किसान इसमें मर रहा है। एक तो क्लाइमेट की वजह से मर रहा है और ये कानून के रूल से मर रहा है।
सोयाबीन पिकवणाऱ्या शेतकऱ्यांवर आव्हान म्हणजे हा जो पेड आहे सोयाबीनचा, हा एक तर जादा टेम्परेचरमध्ये जादा पावसामध्ये आहे ना, याची शेंग फुटते, शेंग फुटून जाती, मजुराची अडचण आहे, मजूर टाईमवर मिळत नाही, रेट मिळत नाही टाईमवर, त्याच्यामुळं सोयाबीन पिकामध्ये आहे ना शेतकरी पूर्ण घाट्यात गेलेला आहे। तर शासनानं याच्यावर 48 आणि 6,000 काही नाही, हमी भाव 10च्या मोर मिळाला पाहिजे आम्हाला शेतकऱ्यांना।
When you look at Nashik region, it can be divided into several parts, right? Some parts of it get enough water while some don't. Some are a little more flourishing than the others. I'm present here in the Yevla Taluka of Nashik region, of North Maharashtrian region, and this is where the soybean issue is probably the hottest in this entire region. जो हमी भाव सरकार ने फिलहाल मंजूर किया है वो है 5,000 के करीब। सबसे पहले बताइए कि क्या जो 4,890 का हमी भाव जो सरकार ने मंजूर किया है, क्या वो आपको मिल रहा है फिलहाल?
नहीं मिलेगा।
कितना मिल रहा है अभी आपको?
आपको 41
4,100 रुपए मिल रहा है।
100 रुपए मिलेगा।
Local leaders are contesting the election from Niphad have different opinions on the entire issue. While the incumbent MLA believes that the issue isn't that big in Nashik, the opposition thinks farmers will hit back through their votes.
किसानों के लिए क्या चाहिए? खेती माल को अच्छी तरह मुआवजा मिलना चाहिए खेती माल का, और बीज का मुआवजा, बीज कम भाव में मिलना चाहिए, किसानों को खाद मिलना चाहिए जो पहले 800 में थी अभी 1600 में मिल रही है, 1800 में मिल रही है। किसानों के लिए दिन में लाइट चाहिए, किसानों के लिए जो सुविधा हो, समझो कैनल का पानी हो वो टाइम पे मिलना चाहिए, वो ये देना चाहिए। वो ये जो सरकार दे रही PM किसान और ये लाडली बहना, वो कुछ नहीं चाहिए। किसान अभी भी वो कमज़ोर नहीं है, किसान अपने तरफ से जिंदा है, पर वो क्या है कि वो ऐसा समझो का तो किसानों के लिए ना सरकार जो ये रकम दे रही है उससे किसान के लिए ऐसा लग रहा है कि वो कमज़ोर हो गया।
हमने किसानों को बोला जिसको माल बेचना है वो अगर मार्केट में बेचेंगे उसका जो डिफरेंस रहेगा वो अपन राज्य सरकार की तरफ से दे सकते हैं।
Farmer of soybean has been suffering. They have been expecting the rates of 10,000 whereas it is below 4. So altogether farmers definitely will prove themselves with voting against this all issues.
An inconsistent oil import policy, a staggeringly low MSP, and lack of basic facilities from electricity to even water are some of the many reasons why the soybean farmers here in Nashik are dissatisfied and believe that the schemes brought in by the government lately have actually helped them enough to compensate for the little price they're getting for soybean. The others believe that the government might need to pay a heavy price on the 23rd of this month. How many of these people will actually turn out on the 20th of this month and vote accordingly is something that we'll have to wait and watch out for. With camera person Mahesh Halwai, this is Anuj Raide reporting for NDTV from Nashik.
Thank you so much, Anuj, for getting us the mood and feel of the farmer just ahead of the elections, which will take place in 24 hours from now in the state of Maharashtra. Moving on, the Competition Commission of India has imposed a penalty of over 200 crore rupees on Meta for abusing its dominant position. And to get more on this, we have my colleague Sunil Prabhu joining us. Sunil, this is a penalty that has been, the government has slapped this penalty on Meta. This is, the company that owns Instagram and WhatsApp for abusing its dominant position and for misusing its power. Take us through, what is it that's really happened here?
Dates back to 2021 when, WhatsApp had changed its privacy policy and had made it across the board. You had to take it or leave it kind of approach in India. Whereas, for example, in the Europe and various other foreign countries, that option wasn't there because of the strong privacy laws. So they couldn't make it, a consumer or somebody who was using WhatsApp had an option of leaving it in mass or whatever as it happened at that stage. But in the case of India, it was take to leave it approach. And it's on that basis that Meta was able to share the details across its various channels from WhatsApp to various other people. That data was given. And CCI, which is the Competition Commission of India, has fined Meta for that because they felt that this was an unfair practice because across other spectrums, be it in other, be Facebook or various other networks that Meta has, it had become extremely difficult for others to make an entry and felt that is an unfair practice. And it's on that basis that they have fined Meta 213 crores. We'll have to wait and see how Meta responds to this, whether it challenges this decision. This, of course, is because there is already a huge demand which is still pending before the Supreme Court on a constitutional question about privacy and across the board, whether people can use data laws as they are doing in the flagrant manner that they have done. Because clearly India needs to step up, just like it has done in Europe, and ensure that there is a level playing field.
Right. Thank you so much, Sunil, for getting us all those details in regard to how WhatsApp 2021 privacy policy was implemented and how user data was collected and shared with other Meta companies. In other news now, this is in regard to the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology's Secretary S. Krishnan has said that the government is expanding the scope of chip production as far as its incentive is concerned and expects that a slew of companies will participate in an exclusive interview to NDTV. Let's listen in.
So another very important piece of legislation that's coming out of METI is the DPDP Act, and we've been hearing for a while now that it's ready, it's virtually ready, and we're waiting for it to be notified. Is there any sort of, I want to understand what exactly are the concerns that METI is addressing, and what is the timeline now looking like?
See, number one, the DPDP Act has already been enacted.
Yes.
The DPDP rules are under preparation and they are at their final stages. We have to finish some internal consultations, and once the internal consultations are done, we should be able to put out the rules.
But what are these internal consultations?
See, this is an important piece of legislation, and the way that it will be implemented impacts various ministries of government, and also has concerns with regard to how data is shared and so on, and how it is to be implemented. So, and we also have to be aware that legislation of this kind is done without too much of disruption to current practices. So we just want to make sure that we consult all the internal stakeholders before we go public with the draft of the rules. And after the rules are publicized, there will be adequate time which will be provided for feedback, and we will sort of take a final view on the contour of the rules based on the feedback that we receive. And after the rules are finally issued, there will be enough time provided for transition into the new regime.
Okay, so after the notification, there will again be a public
There
consultation
will be a
process?
publication,
Okay.
followed by a publication of the draft rules, followed by the final notification of the final version of the rules.
Okay. So within ministries, so there is the data sharing and possibly talks of some ministries being exempted from the DPDP rules now. So is that one of the concerns?
That I think is provided for in the overall act. So those questions have all been addressed. It's, you know, the mechanics and the nitty-gritty of how things will actually work.
So most likely spill over into 2025, the notification?
The final notification of rules may spill over into 2025, but I'm hoping that we'll have the draft out before that.
Got it.
Let's just get you the very latest coming in regard to Anmol Bishnoi, the younger brother of the notorious gangster Lawrence Bishnoi, who runs a global criminal syndicate despite being in jail, has been arrested in the United States. Bishnoi is wanted in connection with several high-profile cases, including the murder of Punjabi singer Sidhu Moosewala in 2022 and the killing that took place last month of ex-Maharashtra Minister Baba Siddiqui. As also, he is said to be involved in the firing outside superstar Salman Khan's residence in Bandra of Mumbai in June this year. He is facing 18 criminal cases, and the NIA, do remember, had announced a reward prize of 10 lakh rupees for his interest. He's said to have been detained in California. Let's listen in to what is being said by Matthew Miller.
The only thing I would add to it is that it would be appropriate, if anyone is going to comment on such a report, it would be the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, not the State Department. Preface it that way because they may decline to comment, but I certainly am not going to comment on something that falls within their jurisdiction.
Let's switch tracks now to Manipur and the unrest situation as far as Manipur is concerned. The Chief Minister there chairing a very key NDA meeting in Imphal, this at a time when Assam has sealed its borders with Manipur. The police in Assam has deployed commandos along the border. So that very key meeting that's coming up in order to find a resolution on the Armed Forces Special Power Act at the NDA meeting. This is a call for the review of those particular 6 areas for handing over the cases to the NIA. Let's just listen into what Assam has to say about the situation on the ground.
असम मणिपुर बॉर्डर जो एरिया है, पूरे एरिया हम लोगों ने सील कर दिया है। यहाँ पे कोई जो मतलब लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन कोई ना हो, इसके लिए हर तरफ से हमने पुलिस का बंदोबस्त किया है। हमारा यहाँ पे कमांडो फोर्सेस है। यहाँ पे जो मतलब नेबरिंग स्टेट में उनका जिरीबाम डिस्ट्रिक्ट में जो वहाँ पे कुछ दिनों से जो परिस्थिति पैदा हुआ है, मतलब जैसे लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन पैदा हुआ है, उसका कोई सुविधा लेके आके यहाँ कोई अशांति ना करे, उसके लिए हर तरह से हम तैनात हैं।
We have just received the resolutions copy of the meeting of the ruling MLAs, which the people of Manipur have been eagerly waiting for, and since last couple of days. And as per the resolutions that we have received, the people of Manipur is not satisfied with the resolutions taken. Then we again set another timeline for them. That's within the next 24 hours. We want the government and the legislature to review this resolution again and come back with a better resolutions which satisfies the people of Manipur.
Right, we have Aishwarya joining us. Aishwarya, after key back-to-back meetings that were held by the Home Minister in order to review the security situation on the ground as far as Manipur is concerned, now the Chief Minister there chairing that very key NDA meet in Imphal.
Well, certainly, and the review of AFSPA is something that the resolution that came out after the NDA meeting that held in Imphal under the chairmanship of Chief Minister Biren Singh. is something that was not taken in a good way as far as the civil society members are concerned. It has been also stated in the resolution that there should be a mass operation against the Kuki militants. Of course, the civil society members have stated that the government should review within 48 hours about this resolution that had been passed, but certainly it was the central government who is also in a view that whatever is required, peace and normalcy should be restored in the state as far as the tensions which had been prevailing after the clashes and violence that broke out in several districts, including Imphal and Jiribam as well. Remember, the central government, specifically the Home Ministry, after conducting that important meeting with the top security grid, had directed that there should be deployment of additional forces of the CRPF as well as the BSF in that particular region, and the Home Minister also directed that the miscreants should be dealt in a very serious way as far as the central forces who have been deployed over there is concerned. Action should be taken against them. So the central government clearly is closely monitoring the situation. There have been back-to-back meetings that is taking place, but the important meeting that held in Imphal under the chairmanship of Chief Minister Biren Singh with the NDA leaders over there, the MLAs over there, and the resolution that has been passed had not been taken in a very good way, and of course the civil society members have rejected that and had called for a review with the state government.
Right, just at a time when the Ministry of Home Affairs has decided to deploy 5,000 additional central forces. Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for joining us with those details. Switching tracks to Jhansi now, in wake of the tragedy that unfolded at a hospital in Jhansi, the Health Secretary has written to states to urgently undertake evaluations of hospitals to check whether they have functional firefighting systems in place. So the Health Secretary has written to the states after that fire that broke out at the hospital in Jhansi, which in that fire, in fact, now there is an advisory that has come about in order for hospitals to ensure that safety measures are in place, as well as this is the installation and optimum maintenance of fire detection and suppression systems are also concerned. And what are these advisory measures that are being put into place? My colleague Tanushka has the details.
The Health Secretary wrote out to the Chief Secretaries of all the states with respect to a fire safety and health facilities plan after, the death toll rose to 12 infants at this hospital in Jhansi with the fire accident. It is to review and update fire prevention and response plans of all healthcare facilities and hospitals across the country and train healthcare officials in fire safety protocols, evacuation plans and procedures, and use of fire safety equipment as well. Conducting regular preventive fire safety drills is also part of this, plan that should be implemented by all the states, and a district level committee is also expected to be formulated by all the states and union territories, which should be headed by the district collectors, comprising of relevant officials from health and fire services departments as well. So both departments working together to ensure that the installation and optimum maintenance of these fire safety and fire detection programs and functions are also in place, such as the smoke alarms, the fire extinguishers, and regular checks on the expiry date of these sprinklers as well. So such a committee will also be directed to undertake suitable action against defaulters as well as deemed necessary as and when. So these are, a full formulated plan that has come out from the Health Ministry to all the Chief Secretaries of the state with respect to the fire safety mechanism in all hospitals and healthcare centers across the country.
Right, thank you so much, Tanushka, for getting us all those details. With that, we're slipping in a very short break. Back with a whole lot more on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
And it is another day of low visibility levels as far as the national capital region is concerned. Pollution crossing 900 points in certain areas and certain pockets of Delhi, and which is why schools have now been completely shut down. And cash recovery just a day ahead of the polls in Maharashtra. Close to 2 crore rupees has been recovered from a hotel in Nasik. And senior NCP leader, the former leader Anil Deshmukh, has been injured in an attack that took place while he was campaigning for his son. And Meta has been slapped with a fine by the CCI for its, the upgrade. This is the update as far as its privacy law was concerned back in 2021.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president.
Donald triumphs. What does Trump's win mean for America, for the world, for the wars, and for India-US relations? Non-stop coverage on NDTV. Top analysts and voices from the ground. Extensive coverage on NDTV.
We reached an agreement on petroling. We have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. The understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the petroling which we were doing in 2020.
This week on India Ascends. All eyes on upcoming Rio G20. India poised to mend emerging economies, G7 divisions. Trump 2.0. Is it time up Trudeau? Ottawa stares at fresh turmoil. Chinese security personnel in Pakistan. Is it Beijing's bid to colonize Islamabad? And in Bangladesh, why does Attorney General want secular removed from the constitution? All this and more only on India Ascends with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
NDTV proudly presents NDTV World Summit 2024, the India Century. I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inaugural session at the NDTV Summit outlined his vision for the India Century, driven by aspirational India.
हमारा प्रयास होगा भारत की सेंचुरी सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता की जीत की सेंचुरी बने.
The summit brought together prominent global leaders, highlighting India's pivotal role on the world stage.
Not just Indians trusting India's leadership, but the global South is.
Welcome back. Time to get you some international news now. And Hezbollah has fired a missile from Lebanon towards Israel's this is a very densely populated central region on Monday night, wounding at least 5 people. One of them is said to be seriously injured. Israeli medical officials say that at least 5 people in central Israel have gotten hurt by that attack after a missile launched from Lebanon was intercepted. The Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, has said it as a post on the social media site X that central Israel is on fire because of Hezbollah's indiscriminate rocket fire. Meanwhile, 1 woman was killed and 10 people have been wounded in a Hezbollah rocket attack on the northern part of Israel. Now, an Israeli strike that took place on Monday slammed into that area. This is a residential area in Lebanon's capital, close to the UN headquarters as well as the parliament, the Prime Minister's office and several embassies as well. Lebanon's state-run national news agency said that there were 2 missiles that hit the area of Beirut. The strike comes following reports that the US representative has delayed his visit for ceasefire talks. Now, ambulance sirens echoed through the area and the health ministry said that at least 4 people have been killed while 18 others have been wounded. And on the 1000th day of the war between Russia and Ukraine, to remember this was a war that started on the 24th of February 2 years ago. Now, oil rates have jumped by over 3% as the war escalates between Russia and Ukraine. This comes at a time as the tensions that continues to mount and the supply disruption fears are now erupting is what experts are saying. This comes after oil prices fell more than 3% last week. My colleague Sakshi Bajaj has the details.
1000th day of the Russia-Ukraine war. Very, very significant here to remember just how volatile oil prices have been through these 1000 days. And today, of course, we have seen oil prices jump by over 3% in overnight trade as the Russia-Ukraine war once again escalates. So significant there. Of course, experts saying that this does, of course, reignite those fears of supply disruptions coming in again and intensifying further. So that really is one of the key factors. The other factor really that led to an extension of these oil prices that were already gaining is, remember, the power outage faced by Norway's key oil field there. Johan Sverdrup was also facing this key outage, and there was a production that was halted there due to the power outage, and so therefore these prices were surging. Now, crucial for our viewers to understand that Russia is a significant oil exporter. Norway's oil production unit also that has faced this power outage is a key oil exporter, and all of these concerns really coming in together on the 1000th day of the Russia-Ukraine war.
In other news, the United States has urged Bangladesh to end its violent crackdowns, and the United States has gone on to say it does not support the government of Bangladesh in its involvement in violent crackdowns on peaceful protesters. This statement follows a recent clash between the members of the Hindu community and the law enforcement forces in Bangladesh, triggered by a Facebook post. So the United States has gone on to say that we support the right to peaceful protests, and this is a statement this has come about, talking about that no government should engage in violent crackdowns. Let's listen in to what Matthew Miller had to say.
I'm not going to speak to private diplomatic engagements from here, but we have made clear to the government of Bangladesh, as we make clear to countries all around the world, that we support the right to peaceful protest, and that in no way should any government engage in violent crackdowns on peaceful protests.
And let's just get you more news coming in. And it is Foreign Minister Jaishankar who's met with the Chinese Foreign Minister. This is on the sidelines this meeting that took place in Rio, sidelines of the G20 summit. As far as that meeting is concerned, the progress has come about in the recent disengagement as far as the border lines are concerned between India and China. And they both exchanged views on the next steps as far as their bilateral ties are concerned. Also, what was really discussed is the global situation. And in other news, India's most advanced communication satellite was successfully lifted off into space by Elon Musk's SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, which lifted off from Florida at the stroke of 1 minute past midnight on Wednesday morning.
And it was a successful liftoff. The GSAT N2 or the GSAT 20 satellite is now placed in the intended orbit. It is India's most advanced communication satellite ever to be made, and it will provide broadband services across India and also to both the island chains in Lakshadweep and Andaman Nicobar. There's a special beam for the northeastern region, and this satellite has been made by the Indian Space Research Organization, but it was a commercial launch done by ISRO's commercial arm, New Space India Limited. The satellite is now under the control of ISRO, and finally, after a few weeks, it will be declared operational, and the services of providing data across India would start. This was the first time India or ISRO has used the Falcon 9 rocket of SpaceX to launch a heavyweight satellite. It was a perfect launch, and in 34 minutes, a very precise orbit was given to the 4,700 kilogram satellite, and this was the 396th flight of the Falcon 9 rocket. It's a partially reusable rocket, and this first stage was recovered by SpaceX. But the key point is the satellite is healthy. That is what ISRO chairman Dr. S. Somnath told me.
And let's just get you some sports news now, and this is in regard to Team India that is in Australia for the Border Gavaskar Trophy. It is Team India, and let's just get you a sneak peek into behind the scenes where Siraj is interviewing Virat Kohli.
विराट भैया, myself मोहम्मद सिराज. आपको ऑस्ट्रेलिया में कौन से ग्राउंड में और बेस्ट नॉक कौन सा है आपका यहाँ?
My best knock in Australia is definitely my 100 at Perth, 2018-19 series that we played. I thought that was the toughest pitch that I played on in Test cricket. It was great to get 100 on that. Next question to whoever comes in next would be, what is the one thing that you're looking forward to the most on this tour? Cheers, thank you.
One thing that I'm looking forward to do in this series is to lift Border Gavaskar Trophy.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
तालियों के साथ हम स्वागत करेंगे आदरणीय मोदी जी का।
छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज की।
त्यांचा अजेंडा फक्त करप्शन फर्स्ट, आमचा अजेंडा आहे नेशन फर्स्ट.
घोषणा आणि जनतेचे पैसे लुटणं.
कट कमिशन आणि करप्शनला आमच्याकडे थारा नाही. त्यांचा परिवारवाद आमचा महाराष्ट्रवाद.
महाराष्ट्रामध्ये 1,75,000 जागा रिक्त आहेत, पण का भरत नाही? राज्याची जनतेच्या घमाच्या पैशाची तिजोरी लुटण्यासाठी हे सरकार आहे.
पूर्वीच्या सरकारच्या काळामध्ये निधी देताना त्यांना असं वाटायचं की त्यांच्याच खिशातले पैसे चालले. शेतकऱ्यांना मोफत वीज देण्याचं काम आपल्या सरकारने सुरू केलं.
It's a web of frauds, calls, luring emails, threatening messages. Cyber frauds have cast their net wide and everyone is at risk. We track the victims, their horror stories as they get conned online, extorted and robbed of their hard-earned money. How to identify a cyber fraud and how to stay cyber safe. What are your options? Fraud.con, NDTV initiative for cyber safety. Only on NDTV 24/7. In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps.
And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring
It's 10 a.m. You are watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Parmeshwar Baba. Over the next 1 hour, we have a whole lot lined up for you from across the country and around the world. But let's begin with the headlines we're tracking currently. The Competition Commission of India slaps a penalty of 213 crore rupees on social media giant Meta over WhatsApp privacy policy update that was done in 2021. It's day 2 of BJP's protest against the Aam Aadmi Party in the national capital. BJP lambasts AAP as Delhi chokes. And just on Monday, a poster-war broke out between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party, and Delhi's air quality breached the severe plus category as it hit the season's worst levels. And this morning too, a thick blanket of smog continues to grip Delhi and the adjoining areas as the air quality nearly touched the 500 mark. Delhi's overall air quality index was 494 at about 6 a.m. this morning in the severe plus category, but of the 35 monitoring stations, most recorded an AQI of 500. A fuel shortage in parts of Manipur. Amid the ongoing tensions and the National People's Party withdrawing its support from the Biren Singh government, I need water. The United States urges Bangladesh to end violent crackdowns on peaceful protests. In fact, the US clarifies to Bangladesh that it does not support the government engagement in violent crackdown on peaceful protests. Markets rebound after 7 sessions of losses. The Nifty and Sensex gain in 1% in trade. The Sensex jumps over 700 points. Well, we have breaking news coming in at the moment, an update regarding the big story we're tracking. The Competition Commission of India has fined Meta, and the Meta's response has actually come in on the CCI penalty at the moment. Meta has said that they completely disagree with CCI's latest decision of slapping this 213 crore rupee fine. Meta has also planned to appeal against the CCI order, and CCI, as I mentioned, has fined Meta 213 crore rupees. This is regarding a WhatsApp policy update back in 2021. The Competition Commission of India had imposed a penalty of 213.14 crore rupees on Meta for abusing its dominant position. This actually relates to how WhatsApp's 2021 privacy policy was implemented and how user data was collected and shared with other Meta companies. The Commission also issued cease and desist directions and also directed Meta and WhatsApp to implement certain behavioral remedies within a defined timeline. But in this matter, the Commission delineated 2 relevant markets: the market for OTT messaging apps through smartphones in India and the market for online display advertising in India. Further, Meta Group operating through WhatsApp was found to be dominant in the market for OTT messaging apps through smartphones in India. But furthermore, it was also found that Meta holds a leading position compared to its competitors in the online display advertising in India. Sunil Prabhu has the lowdown for you.
This dates back to 2021 when, WhatsApp had changed its privacy policy and had made it across the board. You had to take it or leave it kind of approach in India. Whereas, for example, in the Europe and various other foreign countries, that option wasn't there because of the strong privacy laws. So they couldn't make it, a consumer or somebody who was using WhatsApp had an option of leaving it in mass or whatever as it happened at that stage. But in the case of India, it was take it or leave it approach. And it's on that basis that Meta was able to share the details across its various channels from WhatsApp to various other people. That data was given. And CCI, which is the Competition Commission of India, has fined Meta for that because they felt that this was an unfair practice because across other spectrums, be it in other, be Facebook or various other networks that Meta has, it had become extremely difficult for others to make an entry and felt that is an unfair practice. And it's on that basis that they have fined Meta 213 crores. We'll have to wait and see how Meta responds to this, whether it challenges this decision. This, of course, is because there is already a huge demand which is still pending before the Supreme Court on a constitutional question about privacy and across the board, whether people can use data laws as they are doing in the flagrant manner that they have done. Because clearly, India needs to step up, just like it has done in Europe, and ensure that there is a level playing field.
Well, as Sunil Prabhu's reporting, the Competition Commission of India has concluded that the 2021 policy update by WhatsApp on a take-it-or-leave-it basis constitutes an imposition of unfair condition under the Competition Act, as it compels all users to accept expanded data collection terms and the sharing of data within Meta Group without any option to opt out. Well, to understand the larger ramifications, we have with us Khushbu Jain, who's an expert in the field of cybersecurity as well as financial crimes involving technologies. She's also a practicing advocate before the Supreme Court too. Khushbu, how significant would you say this penalty is in the context of Meta's large-scale operations in India?
It is significant to an extent that it clearly puts across the message from our country that one, despite being a giant or a tech giant in their own stream, cannot dominate the position or cannot abuse the power that they enjoy just because they are prominent or dominant in the world. So that practically puts in a precedent that we do have a watchdog in India who's looking into consumer, who's looking into the fair competition, who's safeguarding users, citizens like you and me, who are subject to these kind of abuse at the receiving end, at the last. So that's where I think it plays a very crucial role, and it also sets a precedent for others wherein these kind of things come. And one has to also see in that this is in line with how India is progressing towards having our own data privacy laws, that is Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. At the same time, the 2021 guidelines, the intermediary rules that came under the IT Act of 2000. Along with this, the aspect whereas we have our Competition Act, which clearly talks about anti-competitive nature, abuse of dominant position, abuse of power, aspect of fair distribution of services and market in that manner. So if you look into all these guidelines and rules are the one which are working towards people, working towards how to safeguard people so that do not come under the gambit of companies which can do or ask and say whatever they have to do. If you'll see, even in 2021, when you saw WhatsApp bringing in policy, all of us, despite, irrespective of our age group, irrespective of gender, were on WhatsApp. And WhatsApp was the one to talk about that this is end-to-end encryption and we do not share the data. So that's where the trust came in, and they got that trust of people that WhatsApp is absolutely end-to-end encryption. They do not read the data or the messages which you put it across. They do not utilize it for any purpose. And all of a sudden in 2021, the policy changed, speaking about the aspect that no, now we share our data with our sister concerns and others for our own personal benefits. I think that's where CCI has stepped in, that you cannot arbitrarily, unilaterally, at middle, change a policy like that, and also this leading to a situation where you have a dominant position.
So then what does the CCI's directive that Meta must cease and desist from anti-competitive practices actually mean for the company's future operations in the country?
See, when you talk about smooth operation, that becomes an aspect that you cannot have an aspect where, as of now, that you can share that data because you're being in a dominant position, including WhatsApp being owned by Meta. They would share the data with other Meta companies such as Facebook, Instagram, and others. That's where the fair play comes in place, and they're talking about that this cannot happen, and you need to stop sharing that data. And if that is happening, that has to be for everybody and anybody, so that tomorrow that because of that abuse of dominance, monopolistic situation do not come, which is due to abuse. And that's where they're talking about that you need to stop right now, that you do not have any aspect of sharing the data with your sister concerns, and take those things, and all future policy and update need to comply with those guidelines. So they have specifically asked to review and modify their choice with respect to such kind of sharing of data with a prominent tab in the settings of WhatsApp. This should be available to us. And also, they have to clearly put in all future policies update in complying with these kind of requirements. So that's where the direction that CCI has put in, which in a way will hamper their business, because data is something which is very important, and we are learning that data plays a very crucial role nowadays. All these platforms utilize advertisements, they share the data with their customers, and that's where their earning comes in. Nothing is free on the internet world. We utilize Facebook, we utilize WhatsApp
In fact,
for free.
Khushbu, Meta's also just responded to the CCI penalty and said that they disagree with the CCI decision and that they will appeal against the CCI order. But considering WhatsApp's dominant position in the Indian market, do you think any potential implications will apply for users who continue to use WhatsApp under this new privacy policy?
If you look into whether it can or not, it's a country's law. There is a decision by the court. They have to abide with that law. Whether they exist or they do not exist is dependent on whether you want to comply with the law. It cannot be that, oh, it's not complying with my business interest, so I would not want to comply with it, and the users will be at the receiving end. No, I don't think so that would have any impact. Rather, their change in the policy was the one which was having an impact on the user, because without even understanding, internet brings close to all of us, but at the same time, there's an opaqueness when it talk about internet, and that opaqueness without any accountability was where WhatsApp or other companies are taking benefit of. And that's where we are having these kind of orders which say that bring in that accountability, bring in that transparency for the user, so that they understand that what they are doing on their internet and how their data has been utilized. They have a right to understand what exactly kind of sharing model is when it comes to data. And that's where it has been coming in. Impact wise, I think Meta will be more impacted. Users would not be much impacted, because India is one of the top 2 largest country in the world when it comes to generation of data. And we are living in the age of AI. They cannot leave the market like India.
Well, we are yet to see potential long-term consequences for Meta, especially in terms of its reputation and user base in India following this ruling. Thank you so much, though, Khushbu, for making time for us on NDTV. There are also questions regarding the role regulators like the Competition Commission of India should play in balancing user privacy with business interests in the digital age as well. The other big story we're tracking, a thick blanket of smog continues to grip Delhi and the adjoining areas as the air quality nearly touched the 500 mark. In terms of the overall air quality index in Delhi, it was at about 494 at 6 a.m. this morning. That's in the severe plus category. And of the 35 monitoring stations in the national capital, most recorded an AQI of 500. The lowest AQI was actually 480, and it was recorded in Dwarka. That's as per the real-time data there. But the Met Department has issued an orange alert for dense fog for the second consecutive day. My colleague Shreya has been tracking the latest developments on Ground Zero for us. She joins us live at the moment. Shreya, we do know schools across Delhi NCR have been shut owing to the severe air pollution and the hazardous AQI levels, as you've been reporting. But as we speak, what are the worst impacted areas in NCR today?
Well, of course, Parmeshwar, the air quality is poisonous right now. The AQI is 492. Some of the worst affected areas are, of course, Dwarka, where I am right now, Jahangirpuri, Mundka, Anand Vihar. These have recorded over 500 AQI. And we know in response to this hazardous air quality, GRAP 4 has been implemented. And all the schools have shifted to online classes, not only in Delhi, but also in Gurgaon and Faridabad. And we also know Delhi University and JNU has also shifted to online classes. Right now, I am joined by the principal of ITL Public School, Dwarka, and it's important to understand what does it really mean for the quality of education that is being given to the students. We have seen frequent shift towards online classes, ma'am. Whenever the pollution levels spike up, we know this is the knee-jerk reaction that comes in the forefront. How do you think it affects students who have limited digital resources, and especially students, children with special needs? How do you think it affects them mostly?
Yeah, children with special need are greatly affected because their one-to-one therapy session also in the school goes on. So they are deprived of that therapy session, especially the underprivileged student who do not have multiple smartphones because parents, they carry their own phone to the work. So if they have 2 siblings, then it is very difficult to provide 2 smartphones for them. And more so, the mental health and well-being is affected because repeatedly we are reverting back to online classes. This is not the solution. Right. Of course, course, we are trying to make it very, very engaging. Let's talk and library sessions, storytelling, music, yoga, everything we are including. But we are
But
not.
ma'am, we also know these government schools also, we know students from very marginalized background go to these government schools. So how do you think, there is this common, viewpoint that people have that online classes mean no classes. How true is that?
Yeah, it is so, because in government school, the clientele or the first generation learners, as I said, there is a great digital divide. They are not empowered with all the resources. So then they are not able to attend classes. So online classes means it is holidays for them. So it is a pitiable situation. So we should have to take some permanent policy measures. And we have altered our annual calendar also. In November, we used to have our annual day, our sports day. Now we are doing either in October or in February. So the class 10th and 12th pre-board 1 exam was going on. Now it has been postponed. The whole school calendar gets altered. So that's a real problem.
And also, ma'am, tell me how did you process the entire thing when you got notified, through Twitter, that too, formerly known as Twitter, on X, Atishi, Delhi Chief Minister, posted that, there will be shift to online classes. The tweet was obviously posted at very late at night. So how did you
Yeah, I understand that this is a situation of health emergency, but it was declared around 10:50. So school doesn't operate that way. We have to inform the transport in charge, the cafeteria, and the lady said that I have already prepared for the next day, midday meal and all, and informing all the parents at 11 p.m. So many children also, they came by bus because they were not aware that online classes will take place. So that's really a problematic for us to organize everything at such an late hour.
Right. How are you planning to communicate further notices with the parents and students? Because, of course, Supreme Court has said that the GRAB 4 will remain in place even if the AQI falls below 450. So how do you plan on to communicate with the parents?
Yeah, during COVID, actually, there are official parents group now. So it is very easy to disseminate information. So on WhatsApp parents group, we keep them informing whatever government order or circulars come, we immediately share with them. So till now, we have told that this is online classes will go on till further notification and exam will be rescheduled.
Right. Thank you so much for speaking to NDTV. As ma'am said quite aptly that there has been a lack of proactive action taken by the Delhi government in curbing the air pollution crisis. But right now, of course, the shift towards online classes helps students in taking care of their health, and it is not only young children but also college going students, because we know there has been a shift to online classes in DU and JNU as well, along with government schools in Delhi, Gurgaon and Faridabad. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks for that update. In fact, it's day 2 of the BJP's protest. The BJP has been targeting the Aam Aadmi Party over the toxicity as far as the air pollution is concerned in the National Capital Region. The BJP has slammed the Aam Aadmi Party over the rising AQI levels. Meanwhile, as the air in Delhi remains toxic, Delhi's Chief Minister Atishi hit out at the central government and their alleged inaction and uncontrolled stubble burning in states like Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh and Haryana for pushing the entire North India, including the national capital, into a state of absolute mayhem and medical emergency. Ishika Verma has been tracking the BJP's protest. She joins us live at the moment. Ishika, the BJP says the Aam Aadmi Party is looking to shift the blame for the city's toxic air. Atashi has hit out at the central government meanwhile and said that they are not being able to control the stubble burning in states like Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. It seems the politics is only intensifying over the toxic air.
Well, yes, in fact, Parmeshwar, this is the story that is repeated every year when we see that the pollution level touch the severe category. We are seeing on one hand, it is the residents of the national capital who continue to suffer. On the other hand, here the political blame game over pollution only continues to intensify. We have seen how Supreme Court, in fact, has intervened into this matter and has also pulled up the Delhi government and has also instructed that GRAB 4 that is currently imposed in Delhi and NCR region, that should not be removed without informing the Supreme Court. up. On the other hand, we have seen how the Chief Minister of Delhi, Atashi, she hit out at the central government. She said that central government needs to tell as to what, action and what steps have been taken by the central government to curb the pollution levels here in the national capital. She also talked about the stubble burning figures, saying that Punjab, in Punjab, the stubble burning figures have come down, while in the other states, be it UP, be it MP, the stubble burning figures have only gone up. On the other hand, we are seeing now BJP again hitting out at the Aam Aadmi Party-led Delhi government, saying that they are again shifting the blame and it should be them who should answer as to why even, the implementation has not been done, number one, and why, no permanent steps, in fact, have been taken. Currently, if we talk about the air quality index that has been recorded is around 492, and in fact, we are standing in Anand Vihar and we'd like to show you how, in fact, the air quality index here has touched the 500 mark. And now today itself, the BJP also held a protest here, and we spoke to Delhi BJP President Viren Sachdeva. Let's hear that. जो दिल्ली सरकार है वो लगातार सेंट्रल पर ब्लेम कर रही है, कह रही है वो जॉइंट एक्शन प्लान लेके नहीं।
दिल्ली में सांसों का आपातकाल है, वो जो सेंटर को ब्लेम कर रहे हैं उनसे पूछना चाहिए कि आज पराली का, आज 19 तारीख है, कल पराली का स्कोर क्या था, जो सरकारी आंकड़े हैं। अकेले पंजाब में 1251 घटनाएं रजिस्टर्ड हुई हैं, और क्या कारण है? यूपी में 133 और हरियाणा में 38 थी, तो कौन दोषी है उसका? लेकिन पंजाब की वो बात नहीं करेंगी। अपने नकारेपन, अपने निकम्मेपन को छुपाने के लिए अरविंद केजरीवाल और आतिशी मार लेना, दूसरी इधर उधर की बातें करती हैं। ये तो दिल्ली को इस हालत में लाने का जिम्मेदार अरविंद केजरीवाल है, उनकी सरकार है, जिन्होंने दिल्ली में सड़कों की मरम्मत नहीं की, गड्ढे नहीं भरे, जिसकी वजह से धूल के कारण दिल्ली में और सफाई व्यवस्था ना होने के कारण दिल्ली की हालत है।
सर, मेरा आखिरी सवाल ये है कि ग्रेडेड रिस्पांस एक्शन प्लान का जो चौथा स्टेज है वो अब लागू हो गया, लेकिन फिर भी लगातार देख रहे हैं कि AQI और खराब ही होते जा रहा है। सरकार को क्या कहना?
मैं फिर कह रहा हूँ कि अगर आपने 10 साल में मेजरमेंट लिए होते, अगर आपने 10 साल काम किए थे, तो आज आपको ये झूठ नहीं बोलना पड़ता। दिल्ली में अरविंद केजरीवाल के सरकार का नकारापन है, जिसकी वजह से ये खामियाजा दिल्ली की जनता भुगत रही है। और ये मास्क जो है, ये मास्क आने वाले समय में दिल्ली वालों के लिए चेतावनी है। अगर इस भ्रष्ट सरकार को यहाँ से नहीं हटाया तो हर दिल्ली वाले को ये मास्क पहनने पड़ेंगे।
In fact, unfortunately, it's not just a national capital region problem. There are Delhi-like scenes in Madhya Pradesh as well. The unhealthy air keeps the government on the edge, as the air quality index is above 300 in many major cities across the country. The PM10 is the major polluter in Madhya Pradesh. In fact, as far as Bhopal and Indore and Gwalior are concerned, there has been very poor air quality that has been recorded in these three areas. And Madhya Pradesh is also struggling with toxic air. Amritanshi has been tracking the latest developments for us. She joins us live at the moment. Amritanshi, so post-Diwali, the situation's actually gone from bad to worse in Madhya Pradesh, right? Especially Indore, Gwalior, Jabalpur and Bhopal.
So basically, all the metropolitan cities of Madhya Pradesh are facing the worst quality of air after Diwali, basically. Not only Diwali is the reason, there are many more reasons, as we have seen that weather is changing on daily basis. Also, some of the reasons could be that the people are burning plastics and the tires, and also the roads are a big problem in Madhya Pradesh because roads are not in a very good state, and all the pollution is being caused by all these things. After Diwali, and especially on the occasion of Gyaras, and after that, the air quality index of Bhopal was around 300. It was around 291 also in the industrial area of Mandideep. Also, apart from Bhopal, Gwalior, Indore and Jabalpur, these metropolitan cities are also facing AQI above 250, which is like very considered as very poor, and also people are facing many problems due to that. Though the municipal corporations of these places are sprinkling waters in day and night to reduce the pollution, but still the air quality is getting worse day by day, and people are facing these problems, and it could get worse in the coming days as the weather changes. Yeah, back to you.
Amritanshi, thanks so much for joining us with that live update from Bhopal. With that, let's turn our attention now to Manipur, where the Union Home Ministry will deploy additional companies of Central Armed Police Forces comprising around 5,000 personnel in the next few days amid violence and killings in Manipur. The situation in the state is under the Home Ministry's scanner. In fact, the Chief Minister of Manipur chaired a key NDA meeting in Imphal, and this as Assam has sealed its borders with Manipur. But civil society groups have rejected the NDA meet resolutions. In fact, they have issued a fresh ultimatum. These are the civil society groups, as Assam cops have deployed commandos at the Manipur border, and parts of Manipur witness fuel shortage. Aishwarya has been tracking the latest developments and the Home Ministry's involvement. He joins us live at the moment. Aishwarya, what are the latest details you can disclose to our viewers? Right, we seem to be having an issue with Aishwarya. We will connect with him and get you a latest update as far as the Home Ministry is concerned. But intense situation playing out in Manipur and a fuel shortage being reported from there, as well as the situation remains under the NHA scanner. Well, let's turn our attention now to Himachal Pradesh, where the High Court has issued an order attaching Himachal Bhavan in Delhi after the Congress-led Sukhvinder Singh Sukhu government failed to pay electricity dues that are amounting to around 150 crore rupees. Himachal Bhavan, in case you don't know, is actually located at Mandi House in the national capital, and the government has failed to clear the power dues. The High Court has allowed the sale of Himachal Bhavan now. We have a reaction from the BJP as well. They have actually said that this is the Congress's poor policies that have been exposed, as the Sukhvinder Singh government has failed to pay 150 crore rupees in electricity dues.
सबसे बड़ी बात है कि हाई कोर्ट का फैसला 13 जनवरी 2023 को आया और उसके बावजूद भी सरकार जो है वो गंभीरता से इसको नहीं ले रही है। ये जो सेली प्रोजेक्ट का अपफ्रंट प्रीमियम का जो पैसा 64 करोड़ रुपए देने के लिए आदेश हुए थे, मुझे लगता है कि जो हिमाचल प्रदेश की सरकार सारे विषयों को बहुत गंभीरता से नहीं ले रही है। ऐसी स्थिति हिमाचल प्रदेश की आज से पहले कभी नहीं आई। पहली बात, कोर्ट के मामलों को भी सरकार गंभीरता से नहीं ले रही है और एक के बाद एक फैसले जो हिमाचल प्रदेश में जो हो रहे हैं, जिसके कारण सरकार की फजीहत होती जा रही है।
Well, the High Court has allowed the Power Department to attach Himachal Bhavan now. The BJP has been fuming over the Congress government in Himachal Pradesh. In fact, the BJP has clearly said that this is an unprecedented situation in Himachal Pradesh. The matter was actually raised in context of the 400 megawatt Seli hydro project to be built on the Chenab River in Lahaul Spiti. Already in the arbitration, the state government had received an order to return the upfront money of 64 crore rupees that was deposited by the company with 7% interest. However, you must note, because of the government disregarding the order, the amount along with the interest reached around 150 crore rupees. The Himachal Pradesh High Court has issued an order now attaching Himachal Bhavan in Delhi after Sukhvinder Singh Sukhu's government failed to pay these huge electricity dues. Gurpreet joins us over the phone line at the moment. Gurpreet, the Power Department has now attached Himachal Bhavan in Delhi because of the Sukhu government failing to pay dues that amounted to about 150 crore rupees.
Well, yes, of course, we have seen a very clear order has come from the court saying the property that is one of the prominent and prime property which is located in Delhi, that is Himachal Bhavan, which is in Mandi House, New Delhi, that has already been asked to attach immediately to recover the huge amount of money which the government had failed to pay. At the same time, the court has also ordered to conduct a fact-finding investigation inquiry to find out what was the lapses and who are the employees and who are the officers who did not even bother to pay this huge amount to a power firm which was pending for last so many years. So now let's see that how the Himachal Pradesh government and especially
Right, we seem to have lost that line with Gurpreet. Abruptly apologize for that. For now, let's turn our attention to the other big story we're tracking. Anmol Bishnoi, the younger brother of notorious gangster Lawrence Bishnoi, who runs a global criminal syndicate despite being in jail, has been arrested in the United States. Bishnoi is wanted in connection with several high-profile cases. This includes the murder of Punjabi singer Sidhu Moosewaala in 2022 and the killing last month of ex-Maharashtra Minister Baba Siddiqui. Also the firing outside actor Salman Khan's Mumbai home in June this year. Now, Anmol Bishnoi is facing 18 criminal cases and the NIA had announced a reward of 10 lakh rupees. But just listen in to what US's Matthew Miller had to say regarding Anmol Bishnoi.
The only thing I would add to it is that it would be appropriate, if anyone is going to comment on such a report, it would be the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, not the State Department. Preface it that way because they may decline to comment, but I certainly am not going to comment on something that falls within their jurisdiction.
And finally, India's most advanced communication satellite named GSAT-N2 or GSAT-20 was successfully lifted off into space by Elon Musk's SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, which lifted off from Florida in the United States. Now, at the stroke of 1 minute past midnight on Wednesday morning, the Indian Space Research Organization's most sophisticated communications satellite, which will now provide broadband services in remote areas and in-flight internet in passenger aircraft, set off for his 34-minute journey into outer space on board Elon Musk-owned SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket on its 396th flight. Pallav Bagla obviously was tracking all the details for you. Listen in.
And it was a successful liftoff. The GSAT-N2 or the GSAT-20 satellite is now placed in the intended orbit. It is India's most advanced communication satellite ever to be made, and it will provide broadband services across India and also to both the island chains in Lakshadweep and Andaman Nicobar. There's a special beam for the northeastern region, and this satellite has been made by the Indian Space Research Organization, but it was a commercial launch done by ISRO's commercial arm, New Space India Limited. The satellite is now under the control of ISRO, and finally, after a few weeks, it will be declared operational and the services of providing data across India would start. This was the first time India or ISRO has used the Falcon 9 rocket of SpaceX to launch a heavyweight satellite. It was a perfect launch, and in 34 minutes, a very precise orbit was given to the 4,700 kilogram satellite, and this was the 396th flight of the Falcon 9 rocket. It's a partially reusable rocket, and this first stage was recovered by SpaceX. But the key point is the satellite is healthy. That is what ISRO chairman Dr. S. Somnath told me.
And in July 2023, the Harpic School Sanitation Program launched in 2,000 schools across Odisha using pop-up storybooks and DIY kits to teach hygiene. It has actually impacted 9 lakh lives, creating young ambassadors for a healthier future. Watch this inspiring report.
In the fight against infectious diseases, proper sanitation stands as our first line of defense. At its heart are toilets, silent guardians that safeguard clean water and protect community health. Now, when we educate children about sanitation early, we're not just protecting their health, we're nurturing ambassadors who carry these vital practices into their homes and communities. The Harpic School Sanitation Program has been making a difference since July 1st, 2023, reaching 2,000 schools across 10 districts of Odisha.
Our teachers training program कराइतिला आउ प्रधान शिक्षयित्री हिसाब रे मुई भी संगे जाइथिली जोग देइथिली सेनो हमकु सुंदर भाव रे ट्रेनिंग देहाला आमे माने पायखाना रो व्यवहार केनता करी हेबा आमे चप्पल व्यवहार करा हाथ धुआर सब जाको से माने हमकु ट्रेनिंग देले जेनटा कि आमे ट्रेनिंग नै करी आसला परे मुई स्कूल रे मोर सहकर्मी मानकु आउ आमर छात्र छात्री मानकु मु से ट्रेनिंग देली आ से दिन ठारू आमर छात्र छात्री माने भी आमर पायखाना रो व्यवहार सुंदर भाव रे करूछन चप्पल पिंदी करी जाउछन 20 सेकेंड हाथ धुचन
मु जेतले व्यक्तिगत भाव अनेक विद्यालय को जाइछि मॉनिटरिंग करिया को सेतबे देखिछि एई स्थान मानकरे
जो स्थान मानक पूर्व आम देखुलु कौन प्रकार ये डिसइनफेक्टेंट जिनस रखा जाऊ नथिला एबे किंतु जगह दे दिया किट्रु आउ से माने निजे तरफ एगुड़िक रेगुलार व्यवहार कर निश्चित रूपे पिला पाखे गोटे सचेतनता सृष्टि होइछि।
A toilet's presence alone isn't enough. Proper maintenance breathes life into these facilities. The program employs creative tools to make this learning engaging and memorable. From enchanting pop-up storybooks featuring lovable Muppets like KK Kitanu and Neela Jadugar to hands-on 3D DIY kits designed specifically for young minds. Interactive demonstrations bring lessons to life, while visual aids from vibrant wall art to eye-catching posters, banners and standees reinforce these crucial messages.
आम विद्यालय रे स्वच्छता विषय रे शिखा हेउची खेलना माध्यम रे बही माध्यम रे शिखा हेउची गला बेले चप्पल पिंधि की जीवु स्वच्छता कला करी सारिला परे पानी ढालिबु आसिला बेले हाथ धोइबु आम परे जेउ पिलाटी जीव तापाय स्वच्छता रखिबु।
The program impact 300,000 children directly engaged in target schools, 600,000 children reached through peer education in neighboring communities, total impact 900,000 young lives transformed. While World Toilet Day spotlights these crucial issues annually, the Harpreek School Sanitation Program works tirelessly every day, planting seeds of change through proper toilet usage and hand washing habits. It's more than education. It's a movement towards a cleaner, healthier future, nurturing habits that will protect generations to come.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. NDTV World, as he laid out his vision for the India century at the NDTV World Summit.
ऐसी सदी जिसमें भारत के प्रयासों से दुनिया में स्थिरता आए,
in the presence of those who are shaping our future.
मेरी तरफ से आपको ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं हैं।
NDTV World, your new home for global news is here. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app, news that matters to you.
The last elections of 2024. It's the battle for India's economic heart. An election that will decide Maharashtra's future.
Can the big brother BJP manage the competing ambitions of Mahayuti? Can the Red Book rally the voters once again for Congress and its allies?
So as Maharashtra's future trajectory takes shape, we report from the ground.
Two visions, two ideology, one verdict. An election where no caste chemistry can yield a perfect formula.
It's a state that is splintered with power battles. The big question, will Maharashtra poll outcome unify parties or divide them further? And who will emerge as Maharashtra's undisputed leader?
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the topmost news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has
Well, the Kremlin has accused Joe Biden's outgoing US administration of wanting to escalate the war in Ukraine by allowing Kyiv to actually use long-range missiles for strikes inside Russia, vowing an appropriate and palpable response. In fact, the decision, first reported on Sunday to allow Ukraine to conduct strikes with US-made weapons deep into sovereign Russian territory, has not been formally announced by the White House, but a German government spokesperson said on Monday that Berlin had been informed. Putin had said Moscow would take the appropriate decisions based on the threats that we will face, and previously also suggested that Moscow could supply long-range weapons to other countries with the aim of attacking Western targets. And in news from Ukraine, a Russian missile strike on the port city of Odessa has killed at least 10 people.